Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger, and my friends, Season 1 of Street Fighter 6 is coming to a close, and we're beginning up Season 2, and now we have the Mega Balance patch for the game. Also, hey, we got Akuma here as well, right? Also, kind of a big deal, right? But so for this video, we're going to be going through all the big balance changes, and there's a lot of them. I'm the fighting game patch guy, if there is one, I guess, right? And let me tell you, this is a big fighting game patch. There's some very significant universal changes, which we'll cover first, and every character in the game has stuff to go through. Some are a little bit smaller, some are pretty big. Everyone comes out of this patch affected one way or another. So as a proper lead into the second season of the game, yeah, this is a pretty big deal. Naturally, there'll be timestamps all over the video, so you can skip to whatever you want. Although leave a like if you're going to use the timestamps, please and thank you. And, well, let's get into it. Once again, this is a very big patch, and I don't want to cover every single thing. There's certain things like input buffer stuff that's kind of difficult to show in a video. The full patch notes will be listed in the video description if you want to check out that kind of stuff. Things that are difficult to show in a video are so minor, doesn't really matter. I'm not going to show that because the video is going to be long enough as it is, right? But that said, let's get into it, and let's start with the universal changes, because these universal changes change the core of the game. So one of the biggest universal changes out of the gate is how the parry works. So tap parry, as in you just tap the parry. You know, you're fishing for a perfect parry, trying to get whatever going off, right? So the shortest possible time you can hold the parry has now been increased. So here's me tapping just parry. This is as short as I can possibly do it, right? Is now 45 total frames. The part where the parry is active is 12 frames now. Used to be 8 frames, so it's 4 frames more. And the blue part here, the recovery, is now 33 frames, used to be 29 frames. So overall, you're holding it for 8 frames longer than you used to. And this means, well, you're stuck in place in the animation longer than you used to. The thing about tapping parry, fishing for the perfect parry was, most of the time, you know, you're doing your back and forth, you're hitting your buttons, you know, you're fishing for whatever, right? And sometimes, you know, just tap parry, see what happens, because what's the consequence? It's very, very low, in fact. Just to kind of just go for it and see what happens, right? So, unless you are right in their face, which you probably wouldn't do it right in their face unless, you know, you're anticipating like a jump in or something. You tap it, you get it, whatever. Or if you don't, no consequence. Now that you're in place just a little bit longer, it's easier to throw you. And on that note specifically, while you're doing the parry, your throw hurt box is now expanded. Look how far away I can throw Juri from if she whiffs that parry. See that? That's not insubstantial. That's, I would say, somewhat noticeable, right? So your ability to get thrown if you whiff a parry is much higher. So now, if you are doing that back and forth, just trying to fish for that perfect parry, not only are you stuck in place longer than you were before, the ability to get thrown, the ability to get punished for it is now much greater. If the opponent like catches that, they can actually now potentially just take a step forward and throw you for it. Oh, you see it? Go for the walk forward, go for the throw. As you can see right there, right? So now just fishing for that parry, it could still give you the big reward that wins you the game. Don't get me wrong, right? But there is now an element of risk, just like tapping it and seeing what happens. If you glow blue, someone can just take a step forward, throw you, end of story. Also, keep in mind here, when you are parrying, the recovery, you cannot tech throws, right? You can still block. That is allowed. So, like, if I catch you, you know, going for that parry and you whiff, like, I attack you, I still attack you, right? But since there's just that bit more recovery, as you can see here, we have 33 frames of recovery, right? You know what's faster than 33 frames? Our old pal, the drive impact, right? So if someone catches you just kind of whiffing that parry in the corner, drive impact, instant wall splat. You can't do anything about it. You're stuck in the recovery frames. You can block, but you can't DI back or anything like that, right? So overall, just fishing for perfect parry is not going to be as strong as it was. It's still something you should do, but now it's not going to be as risk-free as it was before. Now, another note about the perfect parry itself. So when you perfect parry a move, you successfully perfect parry a move, you now gain less meter for the successful perfect parry. You still gain meter, but not as much. And when you hit your opponent, they will take less drive gauge damage than they did before. They still will lose drive gauge, but not as much. Also, I'll toss it in this section just because it makes sense, I guess. So back throws universally create more space than they did before. So when you back throw someone specifically off a perfect parry, it's going to be like less easy to, you know, pressure after the fact. So the old perfect parry, back throw, not only will do not as much drive gauge damage, you won't necessarily get like, you know, guaranteed pressure after the fact in the corner, right? That's kind of one of the corner staples of the game was perfect parry, back throw in the corner, and then kind of retaking the momentum. You'll still corner the opponent, you'll still get some drive gauge damage in, but it's just overall not going to be as strong as it was. Now, next up, we got some drive reversal changes here, not the least of which is drive reversal is now -6 on block instead of -8 on block. Since this is a universal, everyone in the game can do it, defensive mechanic, that means basically, if it gets blocked, you don't get blown up as bad. So that's nice, right? And also, this is kind of bearing the lead, I guess, but you can now do a drive reversal on wake up, not just on block. The command is exactly the same. When you wake up, just hit forward and the 2 heavies, right? And you'll do a drive reversal. Now, there is a small difference between these here. The wake up drive reversal is 18 frames. The one you do on block is 20 frames. So the one that's on wake up is actually just a smidge faster than the other one. So all things being equal in a vacuum makes it better, but of course, doing it on block versus doing it on wake up are 2 very different things. Now you might ask, you know, when you're doing it on wake up specifically, right? Like, what's the value? If I can do this, sure, but you know, what if I'm a character that can do this, right? I have like a wake up uppercut or a reversal or whatever. Well, a big part of it is risk mitigation, because your, you know, big uppercut is going to be -1 billion, and your drive reverse is going to be only -6. Say, you know, I knock you down in the corner and you wake up with the big EX, right? I could probably blow you up really bad for that. Oh, you probably lost the game if I hit you with something like this, right? So, yeah, the normal reversal, if you have the option, many characters do not have the option, by the way, but if you do have the option, it'll do more damage, but that carries that level of risk. A drive reversal, since it's only -6 on block, yes, you'll still get punished, but for a lot of characters, it's going to be more something like that, right? Obviously, depending character to character, it'll get more advanced, right? But it's going to be a lot more basic, not necessarily a game-ending combo like it could be off, you know, you whiffing the big Shoryuken, right? So for the characters that can't do anything, because there's quite a few characters that have like no reversals at all other than doing the supers, right? So for them, that's huge because they actually have something to defend themselves with. And keep in mind, a drive reversal is full invincible. So if you're getting like throw loop to death or whatever, and don't worry, throw loops are still very much in the game, unfortunately, right? You can use that to tell the throw looper to F off in a safer way, right? Other than, you know, potentially jumping or backdashing, which isn't always an answer, unfortunately, right? So full invincible reversal, a slower one than, you know, a Shoryuken or whatever, but it's still there. And if it gets blocked, it's not as death as a more traditional reversal would be, right? So if you got a little bit of drive gauge to work with, give it a shot because it just might save your life. And once again, there's other things like light scales a bit more here. If you start your combo with lights, it'll do ever so slightly less damage. And there's a couple other small things like with input buffers and inputs that just don't make sense to show off in the video. Once again, full patch notes in the video description if you want to check it out there. But that's kind of the big universal changes, both to the drive parry and to the drive reversal. Now let's get into the character specifics because there's a lot of fun stuff there. Okay, let's start with the character specifics, and in this house, when we start with Street Fighter characters, we start with Ryu. Ryu, oh my lord, okay. Everything's better, everything does more damage, everything gains more meter, everything does more drive, like everything is better. Like, hey, you can have an EX and a super fireball on screen at the same time. Let's start with that, right? And it's just going to go from there. Okay, let's start with Hurricane Kicks. All Hurricane Kicks across the board do more damage, straight up. They also gain you more super meter, and they also gain you more drive gauge on hit. So just buffed all around, and also combo ability relaxed a little bit with them. And there's other things that gain more meter as well, like stand medium kick gains more meter, crouch heavy punch. A lot of things gain more meter. He's just going to be gaining more super meter overall, which is great because his supers are going to be more valuable this time around because the supers are also going to be better, right? Let's speak of the supers. The level 1 super is faster and better if you do in a combo better hitbox. Fun change, since stand heavy punch is now 1 more frame advantage on punch counter, goes naturally into heavy Hashogeki. So then stuff like this all becomes a very real thing, right? So if you just happen to be fishing, right, and you get this, you can just cash out all the way to the bank, basically. Big stuff. So let's keep the party going with a lot of the command normals here. Overhead, 4 medium punch. Now +3 on hit is now more advantage, and that means if drive rush is going to be +7, although unfortunately mid-screen, you're still not getting that back heavy punch, but still. Also on block, it is now only -1. Used to be -3 on block. So just better all around. Speaking of better all around, forward heavy punch is now +3 on block. Used to be +1 on block. So substantially more advantageous on block, right? So now you do this and say stack out a stand medium punch after the fact. Their 4-framers are not going to beat you. You are going to win, which is very strong for the offense to say the least. Also, say we remove that block, right? It does not cause any advanced scaling now, so your next hit follow-up will, well, do more damage, right? Obviously, combo scaling will apply as normal throughout the combo, but that's exactly it. It applies as normal throughout the combo, so no additional scaling, meaning anything you connect with is going to do more damage after the fact. Also, if you missed the last patch, the mini patch, it'll now force you into the block state from much further away than it did before. This isn't new to this patch, but the last patch. So that just means it'll force them to kind of block the tail end of it and force your plus frames. They don't get to whiff punish you. Just really strong all around. And hey, let's keep going. Forward heavy kick. Now a bit more pushback on block. So if you're using it as like the longer range poke, effectively the -4 at that point at the proper range now basically becomes a suggestion. You get the hit good. If you get blocked, whatevs. Let's keep the block party going, I guess, here. So all the Hashogekis now do much more drive gauge damage on block. They all did 4,000 drive gauge damage. Now they do 6,000 drive gauge damage. So when you're bullying people with this move, and you know it's a really good move to bully with, because you know it's plus on block, right? You're just going to get more rewarded. And hey, let's keep that party going. So let's talk Denjin, the buff. So Denjin, now you don't have to burn the buff. If you throw light or medium fireballs, you may keep the buff going. It's only when you throw the heavy fireball do you get the multi-hitting fireball that then drains your meter. It's only when you hit heavy you get the, you know, multi-hitting Denjin fireball. And once again here too, you can have a EX fireball and the level 1 super on screen at the same time now, right? So if you know in your heart of hearts you're going to hit with that fireball, well, geez Louise, you're going to get some alright damage from full screen now, ain't you? Much the same, Hashogekis. The light and medium versions will not drain your Denjin buff. Only if you do the heavy version of the move will it drain the buff. And keep in mind, once again, as we talked about earlier, the heavy version is now faster. Denjin heavy is now 20 frames startup instead of 21. Let's keep the party going. The target combo, medium punch, light kick, heavy kick. This guy here. The first two parts is now much more safe on block, only -4, which means that the ranges that you'd want to use it at is now effectively completely safe on block. And if the move connects, it is now special cancelable into Denjin. And also, keep in mind here with the knockdown, that makes it +7. So you can do whatever, and well, your offense is going to be guaranteed on their wake up, especially in the corner, because +7's a good amount of plus to be now, isn't it? Much the same here. The other target combo, heavy punch, heavy kick, also cancelable into Denshin. Also +7 on knockdown. So good for his offense and just all around tools. And also, let's keep some fun gimmicky stuff going here. Say we got a jump in coming our way. Back heavy kick. Now ground bounces on the second hit. So that means stuff like a Shoryuken after the fact is now guaranteed if it connects. So if you're good with sniping people, this is going to be more damage than just, you know, doing the regular Shoryu anti-air, because you get the combo now. And it'll never drop because it ground bounces. Really handy. So much more. We're not done, anywhere near done. The lights, pretty much all the lights do less pushback on hit. That's really good. The light Hashogeki, medium Hashogeki, also less pushback on hit. So you can also just always enforce that you at least get a jab in if you actually connect. Won't necessarily combo on regular hit anyways, but you can always enforce that you can tap the button and they gotta deal with it. Donkey kicks! Donkey kicks do more damage! Everything's doing more damage! So you're getting 100 more damage on light kick, donkey kick. If you do, say, EX donkey kick, it now scales less in a combo. So normally when done in a combo, your next hit would scale by 20%. Now it only scales by 15%. So that just means whatever you're doing next, you're just going to get a few more points of damage out of it, making all EX donkey kick combos do more damage. Once again, everything Ryu's doing is doing more damage. Just check the patch notes in the link in the video description. Just look at that list and everything's like more damage, more damage, more damage, more damage, more damage, more damage. It's crazy. Also, speaking of more damage, also, hey, speaking of more damage, his level 2 does more damage, right? If you do the uncharged version, you're going to do 200 more. If you do the held charge version, you're going to do 100 more. So you're just going to be doing, once again, more damage. Say you connect to level 3, but in the regular, you know, non-cinematic version, right? That also does more damage now too. Funnily enough, right? Because everything's doing more damage. I'm sure I probably missed the nuance on one or two of the changes in the patch notes list, but it doesn't gotta be too nuanced to know that everything he does more damage, everything he does gains more meter. He's gonna be able to effectively deal more chip damage. He's gonna be able to pressure you a lot better with things like you know, forward heavy punch being more advantageous on block. The fact that he can now choose when to spend Denshin, doesn't have to spend it if he doesn't want to anymore before you are forced to by doing any special move, which means he's gonna win Fireball Wars and stuff like that a lot better because he can just kind of just do his normal thing and then only toss it out when he wants. Also, Fireballs, by the way, are all more advantageous on hit. Like say Light Fireball is now +1 point blank. And the heavier versions are a little bit more negative, but still, even then, they're more advantageous than they used to be, right? So now something like this, the old classic crouch medium kick into Fireball, the only combo that's ever mattered, right, can now be advantageous on hit versus negative on hit, right? So, yeah, the boy is doing all right. I was scared going into this that Akuma would invalidate him, right? Because, frankly, that's happened more than a few times before. This time around, Ryu might be the Shoto to beat. He might be the king of the hill. He's the face of the franchise, and come season 2, he might be stepping up back to the throne. Okay, now Luke. Luke, you'd probably expect him to get crushed, right? Not so much. In fact, he's got some nice buffs as well. So first up here, nerf-wise, stand medium kick, which is one of the better pokes for Luke, and just one of the better pokes in the game. So it's now 8-frame startup. Not the end of the world, right? Things like crouch medium kick, another great poke for him, and of course, you know, the party starter and the drive rush, right? So this now on whiff has a much expanded hurt box, meaning it's just easier to get tapped. It's not free or nothing, but you can't throw it out willy-nilly as much as you did before, because if someone's on the ball, they will catch you on the recovery end of things. So basically just try to space it a bit better, or you might get bopped, right? But then, hey, let's give you a buff. Stand heavy punch on hit is now more advantageous on hit. It's now +1 on hit. So you're not going to be doing it by itself raw without just immediately canceling into something. But if a situation ever to come up, there you go. And of course, if it's more advantage on hit, so that means if you're going for like the home run swing across the screen there, it'll actually go into stand light kick. So there's some more opportunities to be found. Now here's a very fun and interesting change. Stand heavy kick. Not back heavy kick, like just the raw knee, which is something you almost never see, to be honest with you, right? So it now has one more active frame. So the move is just out there for longer. And it also recovers one frame faster. So this means basically you can hit later into the move and the move recovers quicker, right? So now if you hit on the tailor end of the move, well, you're going to be more advantage. And more specifically, you can be advantage on block. And if you are advantage on block, if you hit on the tail end of the move where it leaves you advantage on block, you'll actually get a screen shake effect. See that right there? The screen kind of shaked, right? Like a heavy hit. So whenever that happens, you know if you got blocked, your advantage frames. And funnily enough, yeah, back throws got nerfed, right? You know, especially back throws in the corner. Except back throw for Luke and the stand heavy kick, it's literally perfect spacing, perfect timing to give him +1 frame. Because of that 1 frame faster recovery, normally he'd be 0, now he's +1. So even though it doesn't hit on the last active frame, since it is plus, it triggers that little screen shake effect. And if you get it to connect, it's +8. So yeah, hit buttons, go crazy, right? You'll get a combo out of it. So play around with it, right? Interesting change. I do like the visual tell that you always know, and the opponent too will always know if you're plus or not with the screen shake. I think that's actually pretty cool. Now, some other changes here, like crouch medium punch, the crouch medium punch of the gods, remains one of the best buttons in the game, right? But now it will enhance combo scaling. So if it connects here, as you can see here, it immediately forces 15% combo scaling. So that jab starts out 15% less. It's already at 85% scaling. Now, many moves, the first 2 hits are unscaled, right? But this, no. If you're starting a combo with crouch medium punch, we're not playing around. It's a little good for what it is. So you can still bulldog with it, but if you do get that combo, whatever combo you're going to do is going to do less damage. Also on the nerf front here, Luke's jump-ins were ridiculous, right? So jump heavy punch, jump heavy kick, they now have basically proper hurt boxes, right? So before, stuff like, especially the heavy punch was like a massive disjoint, wherein he could hit you, but you couldn't hit him, basically. And it says here, specifically, the hurt box is expanded downward from the 9th frame for the heavy punch and the 10th frame for the heavy kick. So overall, they'll still be very good jump-ins, right? But they won't necessarily beat things they shouldn't have beaten to begin with. Luke's crouch heavy punch is now not as good of an anti-air as it was before. So while it still is obviously serviceable, as you can see here, right? Like, it's not gonna be the worst thing in the world. It can lose and trade more often. Specifically, the hitbox is now lessened, so it's harder to hit people directly above him, and his hurt box on a few frames in the move, specifically frames 7 and 8, has also been expanded upwards. Also, we talk about crouch medium punches scaling, right? For combo scaling, you know, that kind of stuff you see there, right? It is now going to be more advanced scaling. So, you know, you're doing like, you know, whatever Luke combo. And basically, as it's written here, combo scaling, instead of the usual 10%, will now be at 15%, right? So, once again, just kind of keeping Luke's damage in line with some of the rest of the cast. Of course, I'm going to say that and now go directly into, like, a massive damage buff. So, EX Flash Knuckle, the launcher, right, has a DDT follow-up if you want to spend the extra bar. That DDT follow-up now does way more damage than it did before. It does 500 more damage. So just the base, like not even like a combo or anything, right? Just the base EX into the move is almost 3,000 by itself. Also, if you look down here at her super meter here, right? If you go for the DDT follow-up, it actually gains you a gigantic chunk of super meter. Like, if you're specifically fishing for meter, keep this in mind here. This builds a lot. 2 DDTs, and we're like 75% to a meter. You know, it might be, you know, depending on the combo, depending where you are, you might be willing to sacrifice a couple points of damage just to get that giant meter infusion. We'll see, I guess, right? But the meter gain on the move has literally been doubled from what it was before. So 500 more damage, double the meter gain. Interesting change. And speaking of the interesting change, this is like actually maybe my favorite change here. So the run he has, right? You know, he can do the regular, he can do the X, and he's got some options. Most important is that shoulder. So the shoulder has 10 active frames now from 7, which means basically it can hit longer. Like you can go deeper into the move and it'll still connect, which is interesting, right? And also it recovers faster. So it used to have 19 frames of recovery once you hit the shoulder. Now it has 16 frames. So you can hit deeper into the move and it recovers faster, right? Which means, let's take a basic hit confirm like that, right? Just lights into light flash knuckle. And then we're gonna immediately go into our shoulder. And when you know it, look at that. We hit deep into those active frames, right? And before, I wouldn't have been able to hit that far because that active frame didn't exist, right? And with the better recovery and all that kind of stuff, say they blocked, what will we be? Hitting deep in? Oh, dearie, dearie. So after a basic light knockdown, if they block this and they back rolled, right? They still can't get out in time. We're +3. And this is pressure that didn't exist before. Like Luke, no stranger to getting plus frames on people's wake up or anything like that, right? But this is kind of cool. I like this here. They got a block. If they hit any buttons, they're going to get blown up. Now, granted, it's a little telegraphed, right? So, you know, depends character to character how you want to do it. I mean, it's not something for all the time. But then again, you know, a lot of characters can't do anything about it. I guess with the new changes, the most they could do is the wake up drive reverse, which, honestly, if you want to drain 2 more meters after the knockdown, I wouldn't feel too bad about that, honestly, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. Play around with it. But the fact that you can hit very deep into the move now with these extra advantage frames and with the increased recovery, this means you can force a lot of fairly decent plus situations. That's pretty cool. And we're not done yet, by the way. So his follow-up on the projectile, the X projectile, right? That does more damage now. So it used to do 700. Now it does 1,000. So if the EX combos into itself, it does, you know, scaling, right? So it'd be 800, but it'd be 1,000 normally. You gain more meter for doing it. Like, you'd think Luke would have got crippled, right? And obviously, some of his more annoying aspects, the jump-ins, crouch medium punch, leading into, like, whatever combo into death or whatever, getting, you know, poked out, crouch medium kick in the combo. Like, things have been nerfed about some of these aspects, as we talked about, right? But there's also some buffs. Like, I don't think Luke's going anywhere from best character in the game status. Let's put it that way. Time will tell, because maybe someone will take his place, right? But if you like Luke, I don't think you got much to worry about. Luke will remain one of the best characters in this game. Now, Chun Li, like Luke, one of the better characters in the game, right? Although I feel, unlike Luke, she got a little bit less and got nerfed a little bit more. But let's talk through it. So one, her backwalk is just a little bit worse. To the point where, honestly, just by looking at it, it's basically imperceptible to me. But I'm sure there's a little integer that's lower than it was before. It says it's worse on the patch notes. But let's talk about things of more consequence. So stand light punch. So the hurt box on this is a bit worse, meaning basically it's still a bit easier to get poked out of. And you know, fishing, this is a move you fish with, right? Because say you get the counter hit with it, and Lord knows you'll get the counter hit with it quite a bit, right? Very easy to go into forward medium punch from there and do whatever you want to do, right? Very powerful move. So just a little easier to get tagged with a worse hurt box. Now, one of the things they're targeting is her damage. So one thing here, stand heavy kick. So stand heavy kick, very strong, huge hitbox, right? Now scales at 20% instead of 10%. So normally, moves tend to scale at 10%, right? As you can see here, if we do our move here and then go into whatever follow-up, our next follow-up, no matter what it is going to be at 80% if we have it naturally combo, right? So you still get all the same routes, you still get all the same combos, just if we're starting especially with stand heavy kick, they're going to do a little bit less. Much the same Kikoken, the EX version of Kikoken. If you do a follow-up after the fact, it's going to scale at 20% as well. So the combos will remain the same, but those combos will do just a little bit less damage. Now, much like Luke, her crouch medium kick has expanded hurt box on whiff. So like Luke, you know, that and the drive rush and the whatever gives you the world. And it will remain so, but now, if you're a little too willy-nilly, it's going to be easier to whiff punish. Still going to remain a good move, but for someone who's just looking out for it, if you whiff, they're going to open you up. So watch out. The hurt box on this, if you whiff, is going to be worse. So just make sure you don't whiff. Other little things, forward medium punch or back medium punch, depending on how you want to do it, right? Same move. The move is will remain special cancelable. However, the special cancel window is smaller. So you only have frames 7, 8, and 9 to special cancel now. Basically the start of the move and the following frames after. Before, the window was 4 frames, now it's 2 frames, which means it's cut in half. Some people, not everybody, but some people were blessed enough, they could basically like single hit confirm. They could see it hit and then drive rush cancel and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not superhuman like that. It's only a nerf really to the superhuman players. The average player is not going to feel it that much, but it is still a nerf nevertheless. And we're keeping the nerfs going here. We're not stopping. Hazanshu. This move retains its projectile invincibility. However, the projectile invincibility of the move starts 1 frame later than it does. Normally, it used to kick in on frame 6. Now it kicks in on frame 7. So there will be situations where if you're just a smidge too slow, that projectile will catch you and it's going to knock you out of the air. And we're doing the nerfs in order here, so let's just keep going here. Tiger knee legs. This is a very powerful technique where you do her instant air legs, basically as low to the ground as possible. Basically, in situations where, like, you know, other characters would do, like, the shimmy or whatever, she can just do it in your face. She doesn't really have to commit anything. So if she catches you going for that throw attempt, she can, like, land on your head, punish counter, +4, jab, 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 do whatever combo, right? Very powerful technique, especially because it's barely negative on block. Like, rest assured, it is indeed negative on block, right? But it can be safe on block, right? So, very powerful technique. So, if for whatever reason you whiff this technique now, she now has increased landing recovery. Like, she'll take longer just to be able to do anything, right? So, 3 frames more landing recovery than before. Not the end of the world. It's only if you whiff. Like, if you connect in any way, shape, or form, block or hit, nothing changes. But there you go. And the final nerf we already knew. So the level 2 super, you will gain less meter in any follow-up after the fact. You can still do your combos. You will still gain meter. But as it's explicitly written here, she'll now only gain 70% of the meter she used to for whatever you're going to do after level 2. Because, you know, you're spinning the meter, and then you're still getting more meter after the fact, right? So just a little bit less. Now, we got all those nerfs, right? What about the buffs? We got to have buffs, right? Okay, we do. And we got a pretty big one, actually, out of the gate. Stand Heavy Punch. This used to be one of the most feared normals of all the fighting games, right? Chun, pretty much any game you could find her, Stand Heavy Punch was going to be a workhorse. This game, not so much. Why? Well, because it's punishable, right? And it's only special cancelable into the stance, not anything else, which means, you know, very susceptible to getting drive rushed. But now, this move is now no longer unsafe on block. It's still negative on block. Still negative on block. But -3. And -3, and they increase the pushback on block. So now, as a poke, it's much better. Because before you poke with it, and then someone just could, like, tag you with a jab, special cancel, and get a punish, right? Unless you had it perfectly spaced. Now, you can kind of use it as the sledgehammer normal it's always traditionally been, which is great. So, not save on block, more pushback on block. Also, a lot of aspects of the hurt box have been improved as well, making it better as a poke, making it lose to less things. And now another thing, we talked about there's less special cancel frames in our forward or back medium punch, right? Yes, that's true. However, you're allowed to drive cancel it earlier into the move than you were before now, which means things like this in the drive cancel into back heavy punch is now a combo. It wasn't before. So now you can't necessarily wait and hit confirm the hit, but if you're willing to commit, you can get bigger things than you could previously. So there's some damage nerfs, right? Yes. But this opens up new routes, new options. So that's something fun to play around with here. Like if you're very certain you're going to counter poke someone or whiff punish, because, you know, this is a pretty good button for all that, right? This is definitely a big return, especially this, the buff to stand heavy punch, right? Footsie's Chun is coming back in a big way, maybe, right? Other than just crouch, medium kick, drive, rush nonsense. So play around with it. I don't know, but the fact that it's there is kind of cool. Also, one thing we are getting a damage buff on is Air EX Legs. Air EX Legs now does 300 damage more overall. Also, it has a faster fall down period. You'll recover much quicker when you hit the ground. You recover 10 frames faster. The opponent is knocked down 7 frames more. So basically just big advantageous situation on any knockdown, right? I don't know if there's going to be a way to gimmick this where, given that you recover faster, that you might be able to combo with like up kicks or something after the fact. I doubt it. But yeah, basically just making the move more damaging, more advantageous. Not huge, but, you know, better than nothing. Also, filed under better than nothing, the level 1 Air Super. The final hit now does 800 damage from 600. So the move just does 200 damage more overall before scaling. So if you're looking to get that Air Super in, it'll be just a little bit more rewarding. So yeah, lots of smaller nerfs, basically to her damage capacity. And, you know, the one sledgehammer of crouch medium kick, maybe don't whiff that because you're going to get whiff punished. The big buff is definitely stand heavy punch. The fact that you can do it willy-nilly now without any fear of punishment, that's going to be really big. Because before, if it's not perfectly spaced, you're going to get jabbed into punish, and that sucks. Keep in mind, as a move, it's really good because, you know, on counter hit, it does go into your stand jab. And if you can get stand jab off, well, then you can kind of just go for whatever follow-up, right? Being safer just to bully with that button is going to be a pretty big buff to her, right? So time will remain to see how it all shakes out. I would say definitely more nerfed than buffed in the end, but she will definitely remain one of the better characters in the game. Now, Kimberly. Kimberly, it's pretty much all upside. Now, is she going to like become the top tier of the game? Probably not, but it's certainly better than nothing. And some of these are pretty all right. Like say crouch medium punch. Now it does 50 more damage, so it does 500 damage. And for a normal that like combos into itself, that's not bad at all, right? Just getting that extra damage in. Also less pushback if it connects. Same stand light kick as well, less pushback, so that's nice. Good quality of life. Her command run. Now, if you hold forward while doing it, you do not have to commit to any of the options. So before, if it makes contact, you would at the very least kind of do the kick flip off of them, right? Now, if you hold forward, and this is the same for the regular and EX versions, nothing happens. You can kind of just let it rock. So, gives you the option at the very least, right? Like, you don't have to go into the flip follow-up. So that's nice. Speaking of nice, so one of the follow-ups you have from Run is light kick, right? And that's kind of like your sledgehammer move, right? You do it, it's plus on block, and you know, all right for what it is. Now, the regular version will remain the same, but the enhanced version now does almost double the drive gauge damage it did before. So before it did 4,000 units of drive gauge damage, now 6,000, right? So as you can see here by looking at the opponent's drive gauge, the enhanced version does appreciable drive gauge damage. Kimberly's not like the drive gauge damage character, right? But this gives her an option on top of those, you know, pretty acceptable +3+ frames, right? So if you're looking for something just to burn the opponent out, this is an option on the table now on top of keeping all those plus frames. On the more pokey end of things, cortical forward light punch now has an extra active frame, meaning it can hit deeper into the move like before here, as you see it hit on the 3rd active frame, right? Before, there wasn't a 3rd active frame. There was only 2 active frames. So this move in that situation would have whiffed before. So you have that. Also, the move is -5 on block. And it's -5 now from -6 on the 1st active frame. So once again here, if you can hit like later in the active frames here, use it more like a poke. As you can see here, -3 with that pushback, perfectly safe. Basically making this move just a better poke. You're going to hit in the later active frames. As you can see here, I'm consistently hitting on that last active frame that didn't exist before, right? And if it gets blocked, okay, -3. And, you know, 10 frame startup, you know, the range it's at. This makes it a pretty good poke with a very low consequence. And also, if you can get it to hit on that last active frame specifically, that'll leave you at +5. And you know what's +5, right? Stand light kick. So 5 frames here, 5 frames on hit. Sounds like a combo to me, right? So immediately this gives her better mid-screen presence, better footsie presence, because now you got, you know, a solid 10-frame little poke here, and if it connects, it doesn't have to be a counter hit, it doesn't have to be a punish counter, it just has to connect, it just has to be not blocked, and if you get it, hey, great. And it's not hard to hit on the last active frame, just space it correctly and you'll always hit on the last active frame. I think that's actually kind of sizable. I like that change quite a bit. It's a nice little neutral buff. And if you can get it to go as a punish counter, well then on the last active frame specifically, that's +9. Stand heavy punch, 9 frames. We can put 2 and 2 together on this bad boy and all of a sudden, you know, all right, you know, that's not bad. And of course, depending on the routes you want to go, you can go crazier. Once again, I think that's a very good buff. Some other things, level 1 super, now 10 frame startup. So it's faster, that's good. Also notice I had 2 bombs, I didn't burn a bomb, right? You only burn a bomb now if you hold the button. You get to choose whether or not you burn the bomb. So if you want to, that's great. Also, burning the bomb now does 200 more damage. So before, the reward for it's kind of like, honestly, like kind of whatevs now. Now an extra 400 like total damage, 200 more than it was. That's all right, I think, right? So the move is faster startup, you do more damage, and you get to choose if you burn the bomb or not. Pretty okay. And now, okay, let's get to some of the fun stuff here. Off the heavy cortical forward, you can now get EX Azuna drop anywhere on screen. It actually combos. Before, it would not combo. You could get the regular version, sure, but for whatever reason, you could not get the enhanced version. Now, you can. Now, this is our only nerf. The EX Azuna drop, because you get the combo after the fact, right? Now scales just a little bit harder than it did before, which fair enough, because now you're going to get it in way more combos than you did before, right? So it's 10% more scaling, but once again, you're going to get combos you can never get before, so that's all right. That works out, right? And now I'm sure you've seen this change on the internet, but you can get the level 2 super off the EX Hurricane kick now, right? So now we can just get combos that didn't happen before. Maybe this won't be the most optimal combo in the world, right? But you know what? It's certainly a combo that we couldn't get before. Like, this just wasn't possible before, especially mid-screen, right? So combo routes are opening up a little bit. And you know what? Actually, that's still not a bad chunk of change, all things told, right? So more combo potential, better neutral thanks to the quarter circle forward light change. Yes, I know EX Tatsu's not full invincible. I know that's what everyone wants, but you know, considering it goes into like the level 2 super now, right? It kind of can't be full invincible. That'd be kind of messed up. But you know what? We have the universal drive reversal change. So now Kimberly does have something to work with defensively, right? So she'll be more pesky and neutral, better combo, better damage. Like, could there be more in the future? Sure, right? But this is a really good start. Now, Blanka. So Blanka's had a very interesting charting over the life of Street Fighter 6 so far. At the beginning of the game, no one gave him much heed. And by the end of Season 1, people could argue that he's top 5, debatably top 3, right? So he's definitely climbed up the tier list. No thanks to our pal, the little Blanka-chan, right? That's going to be one of the nerfs, so we'll get to in a second here. Let's talk nerfs first. So he's got nerfs and some small buffs. So nerfs, a lot of this going to do like hitbox, hurtbox stuff on some of his more dominant pokes. So like say stand medium punch, very good poke, right? Frames 10 through 12, which is effectively the active frames, the part that can hit you, will now have a slightly worse hurtbox, so it's easier to poke him out of it. Crouch medium punch and crouch medium kick, both on whiff, now have much bigger hurtboxes. So basically, if you whiff them, it's easier to whiff punish. You know, as it should be, right? These are very dominant moves, and they'll remain dominant moves, but much like, say, Chun Li, much like Luku, which you covered earlier in the video, some of the extra strong pokes in the game, especially ones that can go and drive rush in the combo, right? Those are more malleable on whiff. If you get whiffed on, the opponent has a better chance to punish, right? Because you're doing a very strong move, so give them a little bit of a chance at counterplay. Some other ones, not huge, but the Rock Crusher here for medium punch, now 1 more frame negative on block. Used to be -2, is now -3. So it's a bit more definitively the opponent's turn, you know, if they press buttons right away. Not punishable, but, you know, keeping the opponent in step, right? Just don't do this willy-nilly. Also, conversely, that means if you do the drive rush version, it's slightly less advantage on block as well. Now, here's the big one. So, EX Air Blanka Ball now has more landing recovery. So, depending on how it hits, you can actually be negative sometimes. So, if you do it as close to the ground as possible on a standing opponent, it'll be 0 now. A little bit higher up, you can be -2. Against, say, a crouching opponent, it can still be advantageous, right? It's not an overhead, so they can still crouch block. But in many situations, it's just not going to hit the same as it did before. It can be plus-ish, but also you might lose your turn. As you see, you're -1 or something, considering the vast benefits of the move. Certainly a steal, certainly a bargain, right? And depending on how you can hit, you can still make it plus, but it's not just going to be plus across the board no matter what now. Other little smaller nerfs like EX Blanka Ball, usually safe-ish. They change it so he's considered grounded earlier into the move. So just to get rid of some odd situations where if you do manage to smack him, he'd flip out and like be airborne, so no more damage after the fact. Now the big one is the Blanka-chans. So Blanka-chan, very strong, ain't no one gonna argue that, right? And the thing about it is, you know, depending on what you do in a move, it can lead to some pretty jacked up situations, right? And due to this fact now, that means the Blanka-chan, if it hits, and you know, it still will, it means it's going to cause more scaling than it did before. So instead of the usual 10% scaling that most hits would apply, it's now going to be 20%. So that means each additional hit you get into the combo going in, each time the little Blanka-chan does this thing, it just means your combo is going to do that much less damage. There is a lot of very real-world situations where Blanka will kill you in 2 hits. Simple as that, right? First hit will do whatever combo, set up the doll, and then if you get hit, game over, right? So in these situations, you'll still do a hell of a lot of damage. Like say we set the doll up here, right? So we're going to get her hit. Okay, rainbow roll, already at 80%. Now we're at 70%, right? So it's going to cause advanced scaling very fast. So you'll still get the same combos. Those combos will not do as much damage. Not that they won't hurt, because they will, but it'll be more reasonable than it currently is. So this sort of nonsense will remain in the game. It'll never not be nonsense in my books, but at the very least, it'll do less damage, I guess? Like, that's something, I guess? Will scale harder? But the damage is still going to be there, right? But it'll do less damage, scamming people with EX Air Blanka Ball. At least it won't always be plus, right? So it's something, it's something. That said, though, I did say there's going to be buffs, right? There is buffs. Crouch Light Punch, +5 on hit now. Used to be +4. So say in a punish counter or drive rush situation, that will now go into back medium kick. So basically like your jab punish game, which is more important now due to the drive rush changes, or rather the drive reversal change, your jab punish game is going to get a little bit better. So something to explore. So you block that drive reversal and then maybe you get something like that. I don't know, more than just jab special, right? I'm no Blanka expert, but there you go. Little things like, say, coward crouch punch has a better forward hitbox. So hopefully that helps with combos. Much the same here, the same medium Blanka Ball. Also better hitbox specifically in combos. The other buff of note is Rainbow Roll. So EX Rainbow Roll now has just a better hitbox. It'll actually combo. It won't always combo from far away, but it's something you can actually like feasibly expect to actually connect in a combo, especially the enhanced version, right? So there's stuff to be played around with there. Obviously, Blanka, one of the stronger characters in the game, especially as time went on. He still gets to do a lot of the nonsense he does. It's just going to hurt less, right? So he will not be removed as a threat, but he'll be toned down just a little bit. So Lily, a bunch of little changes and 2 big changes. So we'll start with the little things. Things like stand light punch. And for Lily, her light punch goes quite a bit further than most, right? So it's now 5 frames instead of 6. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it kind of is. So first, say like back heavy punch. On regular hit, it's +5. So that means that's a natural combo. That's cool, right? This also will come into play in some of the pressure stuff we're going to talk about later. But just you know, having a workhorse move be a frame faster is nice. There's just nothing wrong with that. Now, another workhorse move, Lily's only 4-framer, stand light kick. So stand light kick is now +5 on hit. It used to be +1 on hit. So that means on counter hit, for example, it is now +7, which means links into stand medium kick, never did before. And on drive rush or on punish counter, it is now +9 on hit. And that links into our new and improved crouch medium kick, because that is now 9 frames. Used to be 10 frames. Overall, it's still kind of a bad move, but we'll take what we can get, right? And now, on that note, EX Condor Wind is now faster. It used to be 21 frames, and it is now 19 frames, which means, for example, it will combo from crouch medium kick. So now say on punish counter, that's a natural combo. Never was before. Also say punish counter. Our new little jab here, right? 5-framer. That means EX Win combos from it. Didn't combo before. So that's a nice little quality of life. So if you're just like fishing for, you know, whiff punishes and all that kind of stuff, that gives that a lot more teeth. You know, all right damage, builds you a win stock. What's not to love? Her level 2 super has had a little bit of a damage buff. The unenhanced version now does 100 more damage. And if you have a wind-clad stock and you do it, then you'll get the damage buff from the stock, right? Then that also does 100 more damage. So it's not like huge or nothing, but well, better than the nothing that we had, right? It's not one of our better moves. So damage buff, will take it. Now let's talk one of our first 2 major changes. These are the actual changes that will define this character in this season. So 1, medium Condor Wind now barely pushes the opponent back when it connects. So why this matters is stuff like basic combo structure, because you're in throw range now. You weren't before. So depending on the combo structure of what's going on before it, you might only be able to get either the light or EX version of the grab, but still, you are now in 50-50 territory. The combo itself might not do much damage. I'm using, you know, the basic example here, right? But still, combine that with the threat of the throw, that's a really good chunk. And you have to guess, is it going to be the throw or is it going to be another strike? The reason the strike is scary is because, well, we just did Condor Wind. We're guaranteed to have a stack going on. So after whatever it may be that we do our medium Condor Wind from, you can jump. Yes, and of course, naturally, that would avoid the grab. That won't stop our new 5-frame stand light punch, though, which will catch you before you can leave the ground or backdash. And then that's a natural combo into medium Condor Spire with the, you know, the buff up, right? And say you block, well, it's Condor Spire. We're +1 again. Rinse, repeat. Okay, you guessed correctly that time. Now you immediately have to guess again. So we had 1 layer of strike throw. If you got the throw, then sure, we reset. And if you did the strike, if we got the hit, we got the hit. And if you didn't and you blocked, then we have another layer of strike throw going on. That's kind of big. We're going to have to play around with the particulars as we figure it out. This is like, you know, the patch only just came out. I can't figure out everything all at once, right? Also, in the corner specifically, if you have 2 stocks for whatever reason, then like this becomes an option, right? And just damage dump and all that kind of stuff, right? So it'll work out, right? It just gives her another layer of strike throw. Obviously, like Lily, that's kind of the whole gimmick, right? You block the enhanced Spire, it's time to guess. But it gives her another layer of that. She can get a successful combo, whatever it may be. And it can be, you know, basic. And depending on the combo, you can be a lot closer. You can threaten the heavy grab and get a lot more damage in, right? But whatever time you can threaten a combo, that just ends with this. That means it's time to guess strike throw, and you're definitely stacked with a wind-clad stock, so any strike option is going to be all the scarier yet. So that's really cool, that's really good. The other major buff is our level 1 super. It is now 10 frames, used to be 13. And her level 1 super is basically the most damaging level 1 in the game. And the consequence of that is that's why it was slower, right? Like we talked earlier about Kimberly and the grenades buffing the damage. She needs to burn a grenade just to match Lily's damage. Lily just did that damage by itself. And now it's faster, which means it's better as a reversal. That was always the weakness. It being a couple of frames faster is a very big deal, and it also means it connects in combos that it never connected before. So say you're going to try to jump out of the corner on me, right? Sure, it's a fighting game, that happens. Now that we have a little faster startup and I can hit you before you land, oh no! That's bad news bears, ain't it, right? That's a lot of damage to lose off a jump. And you're going to find this is going to be the case. There's going to be a lot of situations where, due to the fact it's just, you know, a few frames faster, we're going to get combo after combo after combo we couldn't before. Say we got to stock up when we hit a punish counter, right? What can we do with that? Well, all we got to do, get that, say our forward heavy punch, which has always been very good, just, you know, scooping people from far away punch counters. We'll do a medium, specifically a medium spire. And it leaves us closer than the heavy does, and now that's a combo. And once again, her level 1 does above average damage for a level 1. So we can make a very simple hit hurt real bad, right? That's part of the thing of Lily's combo structure is maybe she doesn't do a lot, but since she has a high damaging level 1, she can attack at the end of a lot of combos. You know, the scaling sort of works that way, and now we can get it off even more situations than we could before. So better as an actual reversal, which she needs. And now there's going to be a lot of situations where we can land this in combos that were simply not possible before. And this stuff's going to hurt. Like, no gimmicks needed. Lily is going to put the pain on some people here. Like, that's actually just a really nice quality of life buff. Like, her overall damage is going to go up because she can now create more situations where she can get that damage. And then, on top of the fact she can threaten more situations where she can get the grab, right? Lily is simple combos and big grabs. And she's better at those two things. She's skyrocketing up the tier list. No. I'm sorry. Maybe season 3. But it's certainly more than nothing, right? I would like to see more, but it's a lot of good little quality changes. And it's making her better at the two things she's already good at. So, not too bad. Now, Cammy not as changed as some. She's been in a pretty good spot, right? Maybe not top tier, nothing, but certainly not bad. So, as far as buffs and nerfs are both pretty minor. Things like, hey, you're a little closer now after a stand medium punch, right? So, easier to, like, link jabs, all that kind of stuff. That's nice. Another, I would say, fairly decent quality of life. Stand heavy kick is now safe on block no matter what. It's always -3 now instead of -4. Now, there's less pushback, so, you know, don't space it badly because you'll be closer. But, yeah, you can't get punished if you poorly space it now. So, that's something, right? Other things like forward heavy kick, the command normal. So, forward heavy kick can now drive rush cancel faster than it did before. Now, as for, you know, some of the implications, I'm not a Cammy main. I'll leave that to you guys. But the fact that it can specifically cancel 2 frames faster than it did before means you can go for whatever attack you can go for 2 frames faster than you could before. So that should open up some possibilities. And hey, speaking of open up the possibilities, heavy punch, heavy kick, the target combo. This guy here. So on the first part of it, the part of the special cancelable, the combo scaling is now relaxed a little bit. So now basically it's just normal. It doesn't have any advanced elements of combo scaling. It's just like any other combo. So you'll do a little bit more damage if you're using that in combos, which is nice. And now specifically that last hit is now special cancelable. Now this does carry some advanced combo scaling. You see we go from 80 to 60, right? So that's not nothing, but before you couldn't really get anything, right? Now you can. So that in itself is not nothing. That's actually pretty interesting, right? We now have more opportunities to create combos that we couldn't before. Other interesting things, this one I'm sort of speculating. It states that the collision box of hooligan roll has been changed up here. What I think that means is now you can kind of force which side you're going to land on in certain scenarios, depending on how the collision box works, right? You can go left or right now, at least in this specific scenario. That one, once again, I'm not a Cammy main, I'm very sorry, but that I think is what they're sort of talking about. Other things like, say, the charged spiral arrow. So this is a mechanic where you can hold the button and get a better move, right? So before, there was a perfect timing mechanic where you can get all the benefit of the full charge move, but actually get it off faster than you normally could. And now the window for that has just been expanded a little bit. It's only a single frame, but because it was literally frame perfect, a 2-frame window is better than none. So say normally I hold it here, on the 27th frame is when it connects. Now, if I'm lucky enough to get the perfect timing, you can see I got the benefit there, right? I got the launch, but I got it faster. I got 25 frames instead of 27 frames. This is definitely a skill-based mechanic. It's not going to be easy for everyone. But in those situations where you're going to go for that partial charge but get the full benefit, it is now just a little bit easier than it was before because that window is just a little bit more lenient. And now here's a fun change. A level 2 in the air, when it hits a grounded foe, now does more damage. There's a clean 3,000 now, so 200 more than it did before. Although, the input has changed. It is now double quarter circle back punch instead of kick. So before it was double quarter circle back kick, now it's double quarter circle back punch. The reason, the only thing I can guess why, is like anyone else, assume the average Cammy player is screeching like a baboon, just mashing air dive kick non-stop, right? To the point where they're breaking their controllers, and they'll overmash and accidentally get the level 2 air super instead. Now, that won't be a problem. You can break your controller in peace, because it's now a punch button instead of a kick. You won't accidentally get the not dive kick, right? Because I know dive kick's the only thing you guys are fishing for. Now, we do got a little bit of a nerf here on a couple things. One, crouch medium kick. Like, basically everyone that can do crouch medium kick in the drive rush, their crouch medium kick is now gonna be worse off, in that it's gonna be like actually punishable to a degree. The hurt box on whiff is gonna be persisting longer than it was before. You know, for Luke, for Chun Li, all the other characters we mentioned this about, it's going to hold true for Cammy and everyone else beyond. If you can do crouch medium kick and do drive rush, your crouch medium kick is going to have a worse hurt box. Also worse hitbox is dive kick. Now, it doesn't sound like the end of the world. Specifically, they're just saying that the hitbox around Cammy's feet, you know, the kicking part of the dive kick, will now just basically be slightly worse. I don't imagine it being that big of a deal, but maybe be less predictable with it. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. So, Spin Knuckle still retains its projectile invincibility, but it's been shifted up a bit. So on like the medium heavy EX versions, the projectile invincibility doesn't start until frame 9 now from frame 6. So it takes longer to go projectile invincible than it did before. You still can, but you have to be more on the ball about it, right? And also, the big nerf besides that is EX Hooligan Throw. So still combo, still does all the same things it does, but now anything you do after the fact is going to scale harder. So it used to be 20% scaling, which was already advanced, but now it's going to be at 30% scaling. So you can see here we're at 70% after the first follow-up, right? So you can still do all the combos, still do all the setups, all the everything, but it's just going to be a little bit less damaging than it was before. But we'll see, like, you know, less pushback on combos for stand medium punch will probably lead to some interesting routes, right? The fact that the perfect timing mechanic for heavy charge spiral arrows there, and it's easier. Once again, it is difficult to do, right? It has to be full charge is 27 frames, right? So you have to let go on frame 25 or 26, basically. But if you do, you get it. So once again, not the hugest changes, but Cammy was already in a pretty good place. So Juri won the Capcom Cup. Did pretty alright for herself. Definitely one of the better characters in the game. So is she going to get crippled? No, not really. She has like a small nerf, and with the buffs, overall, she's absolutely better than she already was. So that's a big win as it is. So I'll give you the nerf as it is. So jump medium punch. Big shenanigan move for the character, right? Because you can go into dive kick and then just kind of work out from there, right? So just the medium punch itself, nothing else, it just does less damage. It used to do 700, now it does 500. Other than that, unchanged. So just slightly less damage on like some really jacked up setups, that's it. Everything else, it's buff time. How about forward heavy kick? So forward heavy kick has been coded up here. It was rare, but there was situations where the first hit could connect and the second hit could whiff. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case anymore. So I guess you could file that under bug fix, but sure. Back heavy kick. So if it hits someone in the air, the second hit will now always ground bounce the enemy. So that means situations like this are always guaranteed. It cannot miss. It also means as it's a drive cancelable move that, you know, they're going to bounce you, drive rush. Well then, we can combo after the fact, can't we? So now if you make a bad jump, it can be a lot more than just the one button anti-air. It can get substantial. Like legit, even something as simple as this. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? Considering it's a very strong anti-air normal, you can rip off someone's, you know, like half of someone's life for jumping at you now, and let alone whatever advanced combos and setups and craziness we can figure out. That's really good. That's nice. And speaking of really good and nice, the target combo, remember this? I forgot this existed. Like, who uses this? But now, medium punch, back, heavy punch, there's a use. As the last hit is super cancelable now. So, remains to be seen the most optimal uses, but this gives it a really good flavor that just simply didn't exist before, right? Now, you can actually do the target combo, get the little bit of damage you're going to get from it, and then, you know, add some spice with, say, a level 1 super. Why not? Also, EX Fuha Store, getting better. 4 frame faster startup, 2 more active frames, so 6 instead of 4, 4 frames faster recovery. So a bare minimum means stuff like this. It can combo from lights. That's nice. So you can go like light, boom, get your store in, do a pinwheel, whatever, right? We can actually do things with this now. Not necessarily revolutionary or nothing, right? But that's nice. That's not bad. Also, not bad, you know, Fuha builds a store, but what if we don't have the store, right? Well, then our moves are worse. Well, what if we change that? So quarter circle forward medium, without the store now, is +5 on hit, which means it will, without any store, link into stand light kick. So now we can do something like this. No store needed. Obviously, if you have the store, the move gets better, right? Because then it's a +8 on hit, then we can go for much bigger moves. But it used to be +3 on hit, which guaranteed exactly nothing. Now +5 on hit, that's really strong. Now the caveat is the move does scale a bit. It does have some advanced scaling, but I think that's fine considering combos were not possible at all before. So I think it's fair to scale the combo because you couldn't get a combo before. So that's actually really nice quality of life. So if you get that touch without that store up, you can still rest assured you're getting something out of it. That's really cool. And we talked about this before in one of the balance previews now, but dive kick, if it connects to follow-up, is much more likely to hit. Like even in this scenario here, I'm hitting Dhalsim stand medium punch at basically full screen. I can still follow up and connect. Not possible before. So I'm not going to say it's going to be impossible that it won't find situations that can drop, but it should be much less likely. So that's also very good quality of life. So yeah, Juri, one of the best characters in the game, inarguable. And other than like baby nerf to a little bit of damage to jump medium punch and like all the instant overhead shenanigans it grants, like that's not going away. You can still do it, just it'll hurt less. It's basically all buffs. Maybe not giant buffs, but like appreciable buffs. A much scarier anti-air that you can get much bigger combos from. You don't need store to get combos going now with forward medium kick, or quarter circle forward medium kick rather. Lights are getting scarier with EX Fuha store. Like, stuff's working out for Juri. So let's talk E-Honda, the hero, the face of Street Fighter as we know it. Honda is the most changed character. I'm not going to say he's the most buffed or the best or whatever, but he's the most changed in that they specifically took what his stated goal to win was, you know, butt slams and headbutts, and like shifted the goals elsewhere. Butt slams and headbutts got buffs and nerfs, but now they're looking for Honda to win other ways. So let's start with the nerfs here, because it's what's significant. Butt slam is still advantage on block, but you are no longer in jab distance. So the old jab, butt slam, jump, like ad infinitum forever, doesn't work anymore. You're pushed out. Now that said, that was a cause of frustration for a lot of players, right? They just couldn't handle the blender. The blender is now officially gone. However, buff, he does do more drive gauge damage. So he now does 1 full bar if you block the butt slam. Like, it is still intended for you to attempt to parry it, right? So even if you don't get the perfect parry, if you didn't try to parry it, that's kind of on you at that point. So pay attention, basically, is what I'm saying. The enhanced butt slam, this is more advantage. It is now +2 instead of +1. And it does not have the pushback change. So, like butt slam forever? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. So this one, you really gotta watch out. Now this one also, they changed it so if you hold the buttons, like literally just hold the buttons down while you're doing it, it changes the timing. So since this move is so susceptible to, you know, getting perfect parried, right? Look at the startup here when we land. So total 56 frames from button press to ending, right? Now look at this. Total 60 frames. What happened there? What happened there is simply I held the button. This is me tapping it. 56 frames, and if I hold it, 60. So if you hold the button, basically, it'll make the move just a little bit longer, and then basically screw up perfect parry timing. Because the thing about being +2 is you can work with that. You can work with that. +2, once again, enforces the jabs. Also, because it's +2, the one weakness before was that you could just walk out, like literally walk out of the grab. Even Dhalsim could do it. Turns out that one singular plus frame now means you cannot walk out of the grab. So the pressure on EX butt stomp is getting better, although on every other butt stomp, there is no more pressure. Now headbutts, much the same here. They basically killed all the pushback on headbutts. So the opponent, you're -3. It used to be -4, but with pushback, right? So -4 with pushback meant if I did like heavy headbutt, I could just walk out. There's no button you could hit me with. I could walk out. If you try to hit a button, I could just go like heavy punch, punish counter you, get a combo, win the game. Now, no matter what, like you're going to be able to jab check Honda at bare minimum. So Honda kind of has to sit and wait now after you block the headbutt. Now, once again, it's safe. There's no guaranteed punishes, right? Can't do that, but the majority of the cast is going to be able to jab check him. And if he tries to walk out, then you can go for like a low or something, right? It's not going to be as oppressive as it was before. Now, that said, now that it's -3, that means it's +1 on block if they're in burnout. Honda's meant to be the burnout character, right? Like, he's got the gimmicks for it. Like, that's kind of how he works. And this is another tool for that. Also, the pushback is increased. So now it's much more likely that you do this, try to hit a button, then you're going to get that punch counter again, right? So they changed the pushback for headbutt in burnout where it's slightly advantage, but in all other regular situations, now Honda basically loses his turn after a headbutt. So those are the big nerf buffs. Like, this is where Honda's game plan is changing, right? So let's talk about where the other buffs lie and now what we're aiming for. Honda's going to be a much more buttonsy character, like contesting in neutral, not the least of which stand medium punch moves further than it did before. And for, a 10 frame long reaching move, that's advantage on block. That's not bad. Also, the move is now +6 on hit. It used to be +4 on hit. So +6 on hit is not nothing. That means it can like naturally just go into stand light punch. And then you can get that target combo going on, right? That's just off a regular hit. No fuss, no muss, no magic, no counter, no nothing. You just get it. Because it's +6 instead of +4. And on situations like, a drive rush, that means it's +10. So, like, it goes into itself. Now, would you want it to go into itself on drive rush? Probably not, considering, you got options like, stand heavy kick, where that'll lead you to your juggles and stuff. But still, it's a lot to work with, right? And also, crouch medium kick is also +6 now. It used to be +5. So all those same frame situations works out. Not bad. So this basically is now just Honda's best button. Like, let's call for what it is. And say you stuff someone with a counter hit. If you're in range, you do got to be in range. You can get, say, crouch medium punch. So you got to be a bit closer for that to be a counter hit combo. But still, now it is one, right? You just, slap it away. Then all of a sudden, oh, looks like I hit you. Boom. Nice little hands combo. Pretty cool. They turned stand medium kick into the dedicated anti-low button. In that specifically on frame 7 and past, there's basically no more low hitbox. Like, he cannot be hit low except the absolute back of his far leg. So once you're in those frames, like, if you're someone who likes going for those crouch medium kicks, like have to cast in the Drive Rush. If you know they're fishing for it, then it works. That's great. And it's got another benefit, which we'll go into a little bit from now. Air-to-air Honda is now also a thing. As just like, say, you know, like Ryu, right? His jump medium punch now inflicts a juggle state. So if you call him out air-to-air, you got to go for a juggle okay move, like, say, light hands. You do got to be fairly quick, right? But it's an option you never had before. Like, Honda's playing the game everyone else has been playing for the last 20 years now. What a concept, right? So if you smell a jump, you can meet him air-to-air and maybe get some big boy damage out of it. Also buffs, all headbutts now do 100 more damage if they're in the portion of the move, that, like at the beginning of the move. So light and medium are now 1400 instead of 1300. Heavy is now 1500 instead of 1400. So good quality of light buff. The far headbutt, though, is unchanged. Now here's where we start getting to the real changes. So medium punch, down forward heavy kick. Target combo is now cancelable into Sumo Spirit, the buff. And this is important because you can do this off, you know, your generic juggle. So you can do this, get the buff, and be very advantage in their face. The target combo is a hard knockdown. They cannot roll it, so they have to wake up in front of you with the buff, which makes you extra scary. Say they're a little sloppy. We'll walk forward and go for some lights. And hey, there you go. Remember, with the buff, we can go light into clap into medium hands and then combo from there, right? So if we light check them, we get a hit confirm, we're doing okay. And it does leave us at a good distance, right? So, you know, if they're passive, we can go for like a grab. Heavy's just outside of range, but medium or EX or light all work. And since we're so advantage, if we just ever so slightly delay and say go for stand medium punch with its new advantage frames, like here, I wasn't even deep into the move, right? And I got a 8-frame advantage. What is 8 frames exactly? From further out, that means we can go into crouch medium punch, right? 8 frames. If we're nearer to the corner, that means we can go into heavy kick and then relaunch them and go from there. And then we have buff up as well, right? So at bare minimum, we can get some pretty alright damage, or if we want to start burning that bar, we can get the big boy combos. So this is all really good. And now, let's talk the buff. Light kick, medium kick, crouch medium kick, when you have the buff, all now go into hands. And they'll get the enhanced hands from, you know, like the buff, right? So now, all of a sudden, these get a lot scarier. This means also we can go from a low into hands, you know, into whatever combo of your choosing. Stand medium kick got really buffed as like the anti-crouch medium kick button, right? So if you're fighting someone who does a lot of crouch medium kick, all you got to do, have the buff, do this, and just buffer hands into it. And crouch medium kicks are getting nerfed across the board in terms of hitboxes, right? So this makes Honda an excellent candidate just to kind of snipe these people, go right into hands, you know, get the combo, go from there. So his counter poking, like his neutral all in all is getting much better. His neutral and his pressure. Also, not the least which, I didn't mention it, regular butt slam's always a hard knockdown now. You can't back roll it. So no matter what, you do this, dash, and like, he's on top of you with plus frames, no back rolling to create distance, and then you can just kind of go for whatever. So Honda's a different beast now. His old game plan has been nerfed, but they're giving him a new game plan to work with, and time will tell how well that turns out. Post-editing rooflemonger here, 2 changes I actually forgot. EX stance punch no longer knocks down. Like the regular one still knocks down. The EX version does not. It is +3 on hit. So basically the idea here is when this move gets blocked, it's +2, right? So, you know, pressure, pressure, pressure. And you're doing this here to get people scared to block or to hit buttons. Because if they try to hit buttons out of this, then it's going to be +5. And if it's +5, then it goes in target combo, all that kind of fun stuff. And I guess you could try to go for it raw. We'll see, because it'll always be plus no matter what on block. And it'll be your advantage on hit or better if it combos, right? Get a counter hit. So time we'll see how that goes. The other one is a very gimmicky buff. So Honda's sweep, technically the back part also hits. And they've changed it so it'll knock up higher and less far away. So this combo generally doesn't work on like larger characters, so I had to switch out from Honda, but you can see the idea there, right? And kind of hit from behind the sweep. So normally There's like a gimmicky side switch tied to this with the super, because the super is very fast. But now you can get things besides the level 1 super. Like a butt slam. Or buffed hands, which you can get a little bounce from, right? Super gimmicky. That's why I forgot to include it in the original version, right? You'll basically never see this in a real match unless someone's screwing with you, but it is there, so there you go. Now, Marisa, mostly small buffs, some small nerfs. She's in a good place already in that, well, obviously not top tier or nothing, she's the most explosive character in the game. Like, she has the highest overall damage potential in most situations, and it's the easiest for her to steal a game, basically. And actually, that got buffed too. Her new max damage is now higher, and I'll show you that at the end of this section here. But I guess let's just talk some of the basics, right? So the charge jump ins, because you can hold basically all of her buttons, right? The charge jump ins, the landing frames are now earlier. It recovers faster, which basically means on block, you're just even more advantage on block than you were before. Simple as that, right? Since you recover faster, you're more plus. End of story. Charge stand heavy punch by itself is now +7, which means without the need of any punish counter, combos, counter hits, whatever, it just goes into the medium punch target combo by itself, all a natural combo. Now, it's all well and good. The situations you would actually land this move and connect, and it's not a counter hit or a punish counter, are probably going to be rare, but if you do, hey, let's go nuts, right? Let's do it. Also, on block, it is now +4 on block instead of +3 on block. So now, if you do that and just go for your mediums or whatever, they can't even begin the trade because they'll just lose. Like, they'll just lose clean, right? That's the magic of being +4 instead of +3 against a 7-frame move. So you have slightly better pressure now after the fact. So it's just a big old buff for it all around. Now, one of my favorite buffs here, it's a nerd buff. And I know Marisa is not a nerd character. You want to shove the nerds in the locker. This has to do with proximity block. This affects crouch heavy punch, crouch heavy kick, and most importantly, stand heavy kick. So stand heavy kick, really good move. Good range, good counter poke, especially because on punish counter it launches the enemy. You get a combo, right? So what's happening here now is as a move, you can hold it. And if you hold it, like say, it goes live on the 27th frame, right? So before, what we call proximity block, which is when you start blocking like before a move connects, right? Like the move is about to happen, and then you start blocking. Proximity block would not kick in if you held it to like frame 23, the way I'm reading the patch notes. Now, the proximity block kicks in frame 2. So if you're doing your move here and you're trying to catch them at a range, and say they just walk out, like if this move doesn't connect, it's the easiest whiff punish in the world. Like, it is trivial to whiff punish this move. That sucks. You don't want that to happen. But now, if the proximity block happens more than 20 frames earlier, that means I can't just freely walk out of the move. I'm going to stuck and stay and block it. And being, you know, a Marisa move, going to do a lot of guard gauge damage because it's held, all that kind of stuff. And once again, this applies to other charge moves as well. But for the context of 99% of the time, this is the one that matters. So this makes going for this move much less risky because they are literally not allowed to walk out of it the same way they were before. Because starting on the second frame, you're going to get caught. If you're already well out of range, well, Marisa shouldn't hit the button at that point, right? But anything other than that, as you can see here, you're forced to block. Like, you'd have to literally jump to get out of the way. That makes this move much more valuable. Once again, it's only really a non-factor at ranges that never would have possibly connected otherwise. Other than that, they're going to be stuck, forced to block, take a lot of guard gauge damage. And if they did hit a button, then, well, it's party time, right? Because this is a party starter move. Even a little tap here, it's going to be a little imaginative. You get some decent damage. So I like that change quite a bit. Also, crouch heavy kick specifically, the charge version, it is now more advantage on hit. It is now 35 frames of advantage, used to be 32. And if it gets blocked, it is now only -3. So it is safe. Before it was -6, so it was punishable. So now, no matter what, they can't stop you. And once again, just like many of these charge moves, it's really good at draining that gauge fast. Her light punch target combo, the one that only really combos on counter hit or better. So it used to have some pretty severe scaling. The next hit would scale at 25%. Now it's only 15%. So it's still above average, but that means whatever you do land with this will carry just a little bit more teeth than before. So that's not bad. It means you just get more damage. And we're going to go more into this in a second here, but forward heavy kick, much better, much better. So it moves further, a much better juggle. If you've seen the previews, you can get like the level 2 after it, which is not nothing, but we'll get more into it. We'll get more into it. Another fun change, the Superman punch. So like many moves, you know, as you do, once you get knocked down, you can back roll, right? But now it's been changed. If it's specifically a punish counter, it is no longer able to back roll. The knockdown actually just kind of changes up. This is not a difficult move to punish counter with, especially considering she flies up, might go under a bunch of lows, or use its like very limited armor to blow through something. So doing this, you get a hard knockdown. That means you can freely drive rush in. If you let the drive rush just rock, you're still +8. They can't back roll it. So better pressure. Also keeping on the Superman punch front here, the enhanced version is now +4 on block instead of +2 on block. So if you really just want to get in, this is a pretty okay way to do it. Once again, +4 instead of +2 means that 7-frame stand medium punch here, as long as you do it close enough here, ain't no button beating it anymore. So if you just want to really bully your way in, it's a good way to do it. So lots of buffs, right? Lots of buffs. So what are the nerfs? So one, crouch medium punch. Maybe it's not as abusable as some of the other crouch mediums we talked about, but just like many of them, expanded hurt box towards the end of the move, so easier to kind of just poke out if it whiffs. Sure, fair enough. Now a nerf that sounds like a buff on paper, EX stance. So EX stance, it automatically attacks after the fact, right? If you block a move, sure, that's how it works. The thing is, it now breaks armor. That's the nerf. And you would think breaking armor sounds like a buff, and most of the time, sure. However, against things like drive impacts, since it breaks the armor, what would happen normally is you would armor them, and they would armor you, right? And you would bounce off each other, except you would recover much quicker. And then you could get a full combo on them while they're recovering from the drive impact. So you can't do that anymore, right? So in those situations, can't do it so much. Because like say, you know, you drive impact, their drive impact, right? Your next hit's always going to be scaled. If you did the EX, headbutted them, technically you never comboed them to begin with, right? So then when you hit them, there's no combo scaling happening at all. So you'd actually do way more damage. So it can't do that no more. So now probably the most significant nerfs. Grab is now +18 on knockdown instead of +20 on knockdown. So before, when you got the knockdown, you could just go right into stand heavy punch, right? Now, not so much. If they're willing to try to jab you out of it, they can't. So that's kind of the deal there, right? Now it's not to say you can't beat them, because you can just go for like crouch medium punch. Like, that'll work. That'll still beat them, right? Just can't go for the more optimal versions now, basically. Now the next nerf is like the most fair nerf. So it has to do with her level 3. We all know and love the level 3, right? This is Marisa Muscle Mommy putting the boots to you. Get a lot of damage, and she was +19 on after the level 3, right? And no matter where you were on the screen, it always cornered you. So you always got corner pressure after the fact. That was the thing, right? And the real nasty part of this was, you know, being a level 3, it's going to drain your meter, probably put you in burnout. Basically, once they're in burnout, they have to be cornered. That's how this works, right? You just drive rush, crouch medium punch, drive impact, they're done. It's game over. Basically, if you burn out someone with a level 3 in the corner, it is actually effectively game over at that point. Barring, you know, rare situations, or they have a little meter to try to like level 1 invincible through it or something like that, right? It's as close to a checkmate as you're going to get in the game. Because if they block it, there's no gap, or rather there's just exactly enough of a gap to make it bounce you off the wall, get the dizzy. If you take the hit, okay, still splats you on the wall. You're dead, right? Like after you took whatever combo with level 3 was part of, you're probably dead. So since it's now only +14 instead of +19, it is not guaranteed anymore. It still could happen. It's still likely to happen even, right? But they can do stuff like jump now, which wasn't an option before. Before, they get tagged. End of story. So there is counterplay now. So if you see it and you see them just glow, immediately just hold up. Okay, so now we're coming full circle. That target combo is really good, y'all. So the changes to it, like I know you've seen, like, you know, you do this, you do the Sparta kick, EX, like basically game over combo, right? Like mid-screen, this allows for like some silliness. Like, you know, that's nice, right? But it unlocks new stuff in the corner, including her new maximum damage. And you know what? This is just what I know. It could be better tomorrow or the next day. Before, max damage was like 7,700-ish, I believe. Now we're just clear over 8,000. And yeah, so everyone likes the big damage. And this big damage is bigger than most big damage at over 8,000 damage. Once again, tomorrow it could be better. But for now, I think 8,000's pretty okay. Like, you do this and, like, then breathe on Akuma and he'd die instantly, right? So, Marisa, the highest damage character in the game, can get even more damage thanks to some of these buffs, right? So, overall, she's basically the same character she was before, just kind of better with more options, better quality of life. So, she's doing good. Ken, who is another one of the better characters in the game, you think he'd get nerfed, maybe, and, well, some small nerfs, perhaps. But yeah, you got some interesting buffs as well, right? So just to talk some of the nerfs out here, the target combo, medium punch, heavy punch, you can no longer delay this. You either commit immediately or that's it. So before you had a small frame window to delay the hits. Now, no. It's either done or not. No more guessing games. In situations where you can combo into EX Fireball, or rather combo out of it too as well, you will now do less damage. It'll scale harder than it did before. So these situations aren't the most common, but if you do, this is now a thing. There's some odd little ones, some quality of life ones here, like his neutral jump kick is different than his back or forward jump kick. The neutral jump kick has more active frames. EX Tatsu now does more damage. Does 200 more damage overall. For a move that's, you know, decidedly not bad. Hey, okay, I guess that works out. Now here's an odd one. Ken has new combo routes. So crouch medium kick has been buffed, and I'll read it as it's written. Attack hitbox has been expanded slightly upwards so that it can hit opponents in a mid-air spinning juggle state. Well, punish counter, heavy kick, that's a mid-air spinning juggle state, I would say. And now even from like max range, as you see, that's a thing. So now we take those constituent parts, put stuff together. Sure, why not? Right, let's do it. So, new combo potential there, and that's not the only one. How about run uppercut? Run uppercut now starts up 1 frame faster. And, you know, never seems like much in a fighting game, but trust me, 1 frame means the world, right? Not the least of which something like this is now possible. So there we go. After we do that side switch juggle with the EX Dragon Lash, they're popped up, right? We can run, go for Shoryu right away, and get the superior run Shoryuken, right? That does more damage, all that kind of fun stuff. So we have more damage opportunities thanks to this. Just because it's 1 frame faster, that means you can sneak it in situations you couldn't have before. Heavy Jinrai kick. This guy here, the big one, the slow one. Got a lot of little buffs. Has less of a hurt box for the majority of the move. The hitbox itself has been expanded forward. The blowback has been reduced, meaning like how far they get knocked back. And that's a substantial buff, right? Because you can start landing supers and stuff from, you know, decently far away. So if you land that move, that's blowback, you'll be able to catch him. So that's interesting. Also, speaking of why not, the level 2 does 100 more damage. The final hit specifically does 600, used to do 500, so it does 100 more damage overall. Also, Jinrai kicks, heavy kick option. The hitbox has been expanded forward. So if you do this on a delay, that works. I don't think that worked before. Please let me know in the comments if it did. But yeah, so Ken, a character that didn't need buffs, call for what it is, got buffs. And that's kind of the through line here of the Street Fighter 6 patch, I guess. So yeah, Ken fans, even though you're all gonna drop Ken for Kuma anyways, you don't have to drop Ken. Okay, Jamie. Jamie's pretty much all upside. He does have the pretty much universal crouch medium kick nerf for all the characters that can do this in the drive rush. If you whiff it, the hurt box is going to be a lot easier to hit. So if you whiff it, they're going to tap you back. And then, well, you got to like it, right? So the other nerf to talk about is Jamie the sweep. So Jamie's sweep could hit people from further away than most. Let's put it that way, right? And that could be difficult to deal with sometimes. So now, on block, it is, well, simply more negative. Also, it is not low-low. If the first hit is a low, the second hit will be a high. And since it's now going to be negative 11, that means, you know, at least for some characters anyways, if you're attacking from like absolute max range, now some characters will be able to tap you back in a way, you know, others could not, right? So less abusing that. Now, besides that, how do you buff a character? You give them a lot of solid fundamental changes. Stand medium punch is now +2 on block. Used to be +1 on block. So now, you can threaten your advantage all the better. Not the least of which, stand light kick is 5 frames. So at +2, they hit any button, they're guaranteed to get smacked. No trades here. So that just makes this more threatening. It also helps because this is a natural combo too, right? So this is something you're going to be doing anyways, and if they block the first one and start hitting buttons, they're just going to get smacked anyways. Stand medium kick, +2 on hit now. Used to be +1, so just, you know, more frames, more better. Crouch medium punch is now +5 on hit. And if you do it off a drive rush, that means it's +9, right? And, you know, things like crouch heavy punch. That's a 9 framer, right? So now this into that, well, that's a combo that connects now, right? So more advantage frames, more better, more combo possibilities. Also, now, consequently, there's a small nerf. It's now -1 on block. It used to be 0 on block, but the positives outweigh the negatives on that one, in my opinion. And for Drinky Jamie, we got some buffs here. Lots of different things, like, say, his level 4 target combo, where he can kind of step kick in, slink on out, but then he can also headbutt you, right? If you do this at fast enough timing, it is now a natural combo. Before, it could combo on stuff like drive rush, but never naturally without any, you know, drive rush or punish counter and counter hit properties, right? It is a natural combo now, so that's really nice. That kind of works out. And speaking of kind of works out, let's just get all the way stupid with it. Heavy Palm is completely safe on block. So if you're looking to play E Honda with a drinking problem, Jamie's your character now, because this is just sumo headbutt, basically. Just doskoi, completely safe. Don't got to worry about it. Obviously, further away, you know, deeper into the active frames, numbers start changing, right? But yeah, you can do this literally touching the enemy, not punishable. Yeah, you'll lose your turn, sure. Probably got to worry about whatever button they're going to do, but yeah, you can literally just get ignorant with this now. Speaking of getting more ignorant, the Rekka series. So the Rekka series is getting a bunch of little buffs, not the least of which is they gain you just a little bit more super meter, and kind of across the board, you're going to be doing more chip damage with them, which is very interesting. Now, specifically the level 4 version, once you're in level 4, the first part of the Rekka deals much more chip damage than before, like slightly more than double what it did before. The second and third follow-ups deal less damage, but this is the one that's completely safe on block, right? So you can just kind of do this, and, you know, you can threaten the other ones if you want, you know, at the cost of perhaps your own safety. But yeah, this gets really strong, right? Because just as the more block damage, you can kind of bully with it. Other quality of life here, light kick uppercut, light kick reversal, is now a 5 framer. So, like, you know, in situations like combo ability, like that would be a combo, wouldn't have been before, right? And since it is air invincible in frame 1, if you're just looking for like that panic air reversal, even though it will lose in a lot of jump-ins in certain situations, because that's how Jamie works, but in a textbook vanilla case, it'll help you out. Let's get back to Drunk Jamie. So, Drunk Jamie, dive kicks. Dive kicks is a bit of a laughing stock online because of the jacked up hurt box. Like, Jamie could do it from this far away, and I could jab him out of it. Even though, like, he's nowhere near me, right? Now, hopefully I'm showing you the hitbox demonstration. Thank you very much for the tweet. This is now fixed. Well, to a degree. It's not perfect, but certainly not as jacked up as it was before. No jabbing him from full screen anymore. And on that note, the spin kicks. So spin kicks is, you know, notable in that it has projectile invincibility, right? It is now all the way projectile invincible until the move is done, until the actual part that's attacking is over. So no fighting like JP or Dee Jay, and you got past one part, and then another part of another projectile hits you in the face. He's invincible to projectiles until the move is done. So kind of working the way it should have from the start, I guess, but hey, we'll take what we can get. And speaking of taking what we can get, an interesting buff. Level 1 super is now 8-frame startup. And if done in a combo, the first part is more likely to connect. So this is actually, I would say, a fairly decent buff to his whiff punish game. Because, you know, a lot of moves, like the crouch medium kicks, are easier to whiff punish, right? And stuff like stand medium punch. So before 10-frame startup, no go. But now, you can actually whiff punish and go into a level 1. Like, will this be the future of Jamie? I don't know, but certainly nice. A nice little chunk of change in terms of damage that you didn't otherwise get before, right? So that's not bad. So solid fundamental play, Jamie's getting a buff, right? Like more advantage on block, more advantage on hit, right? And stupid Jamie is also getting a buff, right? Because we're getting better dive kicks, or we're getting better heavy palms that are completely safe on block. So whichever way you want to play, more scientific or more ignorant, both versions of Jamie are getting buffs. So that's pretty cool. Now, Zangief got the world in this patch. So I'm going to say this up front so I don't repeat myself 400 times, because I will, because almost every move he does this. Pretty much everything he does will build more super meter on hit and will regain him more drive gauge on hit. And just about every big move he does more drive gauge damage on block. So I'm not going to say it every single time. It's going to go without saying. It's just more meter for him, less meter for you, kind of across the board. And honestly, if that was it, that would be big enough. Like, that'd be actually kind of huge, right? But of course, naturally, we got more. You know, just sometimes little things. Let's push back on some moves. Let's push back on, say, stand medium punch, which is nice because, you know, the target combo. So the target combo, the second hit, also has less pushback and also has a bigger hitbox. Basically meaning in those situations where it will come up, sometimes like one hit could connect and the last hit would miss. That should be gone now. It should, all 3 hits should always connect. Now, how about a big one here? Zangief, he's got some buttons on him, right? He ain't hurting for buttons or anything like that. But stand medium kick now does 100 more damage. More damage is good in my books. The hitbox, it hits from further away. So just its value as like a raw poke is now actually just better. And of course, builds more meter, builds more drive, deals more drive gauge, blah, blah, blah. Like all these things. Now, speaking of damage, charge heavy punch, the big windup, does 400 more damage. Used to do 1,000. Now it does 1,400. Uncharged does 1,000, right? The charge version, 1,400. And keep in mind, this is a move with super armor and all that kind of stuff, right? Big deal. And of course, too, like, look at this. On block, just the whole gauge just deleted. So, big bully Zangief with big buttons. Very much making his appearance. Things like crouch medium punch pushes the opponent back slightly less than before. So there should be less situations where you go for hell stab after the fact and, like I say, a drive cancel combo and it would whiff. Crouch medium kick is now +3 on hit, which means after a drive rush, it will combo into hell stab. And of course, more super gauge, all that kind of stuff. And here's one of the big ones, the crouch heavy punch punish counter. So out of the gate, yes, combos, easy and effective. So don't worry about it. There you go. 3,000. That's actually not bad. It's not bad at all. And the move itself is much better. So for one, it's 11-frame startup. It used to be 12-frame startup. Has one more active frame and now moves much further than it did before. So then as an 11 framer with 9 active frames, that basically means it's kind of a really good whiff punish button. Fast for heavy, right? So if you see a big whiff, go for it, let it rock. Now, I should let you know, if you're a little further out, you might not get the same combo, but you can always cut like a drive or a sweep. You'll get something. Like 2k damage off a whiff punish isn't awful. If you want the fancier knee combo, you gotta be a little closer. Although, that said, if you happen to be in the corner, you can kind of go for like the Zangief 101. Go to EX Lariat, bounce them up, EX Air Pile Driver, do all that fun stuff. So yeah, there's potential there. It's not bad. I think I personally laughed it off myself. I know other people did. I'll take responsibility. I kind of thought it was a nothing thing. And now that it's there and I'm playing around with it, I'm mildly impressed. It's certainly not best in class, but it's certainly better than, you know, what Zangief tends to usually get. Now let's keep the party rolling here, eh? Headbutt does more damage, 100 more damage. Why not? Also, it's +7 now on hit. So say situations where you drive rush, it can be like +11. Situations where you hit meaty with it, it's going to be all the more plus yet. Just buff, 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 buff. And knee hammer also does 100 more damage. Builds more meter, blah, 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 blah. Faster recovery. Now, even point blank, it's always plus no matter what. Even point blank. The idea of the move is you want to hit later in the active frames, yes. So then you have more advantage. But even point blank now, if it hits, it's plus. And more meter, more drive, blah, blah, blah. Like, big buffs. Wheel kick. Oh my god, this stupid thing, right? This is how a lot of Zangiefs get themselves killed. Even point blank now, this is -9. Point blank. So still punishable, but that means at the ranges you should be using it at, it's going to be much less negative. That's good. Also, it has more pushback on block. So if you're a smart Zangief and space this move like you should be doing, you are just about effectively unpunishable. Only a handful of characters could actually deal with this, like say Guile and his 7-frame super, right? Other than that, most of the cast is not handling you, so big buff to this. His special move stomps, remember those? Nobody uses them, right? Now, they're special cancelable. Maybe you will use them. Especially because, say, that special cancel, like the Lariat, guess what does more damage? Lariat does 200 more damage. Oh, by the way, EX Lariat does 200 more damage. Do you see a theme going on here, right? Everything does more damage. He gains more meter off everything. He does more drive gauge damage off everything. He's just more of a beast. Oh, and by the way, just in case you didn't know, Pile Driver gains more meter now too, right? Everything gains more meter. Also, call me out on this one if this already existed, I'm not too sure. The way I'm reading the patch notes, it says the base Air Pile Driver, not the EX version, combo ability's been relaxed. So I think the way that's written is works off the regular air headbutt now. Maybe it did before. Please let me know in the comments below. That's the way I'm reading it. How about the quality of life buffs you didn't even know you want? From the FAR version of EX running bear grab, if it armors, it just gets like a Turbo Sonic the Hedgehog speed boost. So this is sort of, for the most part, how like the non-EX version worked, but the EX version did not work this way. So now it does. Before it would just like get the armor through and whiff. So now it works like the regular version. So if you're the kind of guy who wants to do, you know, running bear grab from full screen, you know what? You have been incentivized to do so now. So another fun buff. So yeah, for all the particulars of like the meter gain, drive gauge gain, drive gauge damage dealt on block, check the patch notes in the video description. But everything Zangief does in this game is just better than it was before, right? And substantively so, in my opinion. You know, the good buttons are getting better, doing more damage. Like, the Zangief game plan is just more. Take what it already was, add to it. I can't see myself not having Zangief do much better in this season. Top tier? Probably not. It's been a long time since the last top tier grappler. When it happened, you guys all complained about it, right? Rest in peace, Abigail. But I think the boy's going to be doing okay. All right, so coming off the Zangief changes, Manon is much more subtle. Zangief just got more damage on everything and go from there, right? So Manon got more tools, more options. And some of these, well, this is why I'm going to explain to you because they're not as immediately apparent, right? So let's say crouch light kick. A little bit less pushback, which means that now actually works. Like, I know this doesn't seem like much, but this would not work before. Like, the third hit of this would whiff on stand light punch, which is important because stand light punch goes into the command suite, whereas, you know, crouch light punch does not naturally combo into it, right? So you can now get a 3-hit hit confirm off your more important stand light punch normal you couldn't before. That's kind of cool. Crouch light punch is +3 on hit. It's a 4-framer. Has a good amount of range for a 4-framer. I'd say a little bit more than the average character, right? And if it's +3 on hit, that means on counter hit, if you stuff a button, it's +5, which means we'll now combo into stand light kick, which is a 5-framer, right? So if you're just kind of nagging at people, and then there you go, you know, not huge, but it's there. That's nice. Much the same here. Crouch medium kick. Now +3 on hit, used to be +2. So that means on counter hit, will also go into stand light kick. Also has less pushback like crouch light kick. So this means in certain situations, like say, I use that fancy new combo I just talked about, right? There we go. We're going to DR. It's going to hit meaty. Less pushback. +10. Not bad, right? And with that less pushback, it just gives us just enough. Going to back heavy punch. Nice. Hey, there we go. We're cooking with gas, right? Okay, and now let's take off the Band-Aid. One of the things about Manon compared to like any grappler in the history of fighting games is one of the basic building blocks of grappling is you do the thing that's advantage on block, so you make them scared to hit a button, and once they're scared to hit a button, you chuck them. Kind of how that works, right? And, well, Drive Rush means she can get advantage frames off anything, right? She had no natural source of plus frames. Now, she does with back heavy punch. Back heavy punch used to be -3. It is now +1 on block. And that is gigantic for her. Gigantic, gigantic. It's relatively quick for what it is. 8-framer, right? +1 on block, which also means if, you know, the DR or whatever, it's +5. So now it's just how it is for everybody else, right? I do the thing. Do you dare hit a button against me? And then we'll see how that goes. You know, maybe it won't work out for you if you try to hit a button, right? And then if you're passive, well, then get chucked, right? So she can enforce this game plan in a way that she really couldn't before. It's such a basic game plan, but now she can do it without having to be silly and like burn drive gauge on it. And while we're on the back heavy punch front, it can now naturally combo into EX spin kick, which is a very big deal. If only for the fact that it revolutionizes most of your combo structure. You're going to be spending less bar for more damage kind of across the board. Like take your average punish counter scenario. Before, you'd probably be looking at something like this. Alright, so there we go. 3,000 damage. Not awful, and you get a medal. Sure. Takes 3 bars. How about we spend less bar for more damage? So there we go. 3,300, and we already almost gained those 2 gauges back. So unlike, you know, a drive gauge combo, when we're doing the EX here and we're doing this long animation, our drive gauge is already rebuilding, so it almost is free at that point, let alone 3 gauges. And if we want to spend 3 gauges, then we can do even better yet. So if we spend 3 gauges, we can get ridiculous. Corner carry. Also, very easily go into a level 1 or 2 super, both of which have been buffed. Level 1 supers, if it's in the middle of a combo, the hitbox has been greatly increased. So none of those weird drops that it's prone to, unfortunately, every now and then. And the level 2, like some other supers, just does more damage. It does 100 more damage. And also, speaking of doing more damage, you may have heard of this one, but it bears going over. Manon's metal level now affects her level 3. So here's the critical art, the base version, right? And boom, 4,500. Now let's jack that up to 5 medals. Now I want to impart to you how dangerous 5 medals is. That is 4 more medals than Kurt Angle. And you know what Kurt can do with 1 medal? Well, this is what she does with 5. So 4,500, 5,100. So basically, 600 more at max level, right? That means even at maximum scaling, you're going to be doing 300 more damage than you were before, right? Manon, not the highest combo damage character in the game. And then again, she has this, right? So she shouldn't be. But that gives you just a bit more reach, a bit more ability to close out a round, right? So combo ability is more meter efficient, more damaging, more corner carry, more everything, basically. Also more options too, because our back medium kick target combo now ground bounces, and you can go into the hit grab from there. So that's a fun little ditty, right? So we're gonna have to kind of like reinvent combo routes, because what we used to know doesn't necessarily gonna work anymore. I don't know what's optimal right now, right? Far from it. We're figuring stuff out. But what I do know is Manon, she just needed damage, right? And I know she had the big grab, but that doesn't happen every now and then, right? Damage is what she never really had, and now that's what she's gonna get, right? Even if it's not tons more, it's great. The fact that she's gonna have options now, once again, a plus on block move for a grappler, kind of a big deal, right? And the fact that you can just kind of work from there. The fact that she's gonna have more Gigas, gimmicks, and setups, like light, sweep, special, this into this. Not bad, right? Like, we'll go from there. Not as obvious and overwhelmingly powerful as Zangief, but I like the changes. She might not be the worst character in the game anymore. Now, Dhalsim, I'm going to call these changes conservative. Is he a character that can use buffs? Absolutely. Dhalsim has a tradition, though, of running a lot of the games he's in, right? Maybe not popular, but usually strong. And right now he's mid-tier-ish. And I don't think they want him to run the game just yet. I'm sure he'll get there eventually, though, just like Street Fighter V. So right now, one of the big ones, stand heavy kick. So stand heavy kick is now +3 on hit instead of +1 on hit. And this gives him a fair bit to work with. Not the least of which, you know, at the ranges you'd use it at a lot of times in neutral, right? This now means if you do this in the drive rush into crouch medium punch, this actually combos, which would not have comboed before. So I'm not saying this is necessarily optimal or nothing, but unless you do silly stuff from like near full screen, right? Maybe not the best use of meter though. Although, once again, any move from a drive rush is more advantage, right? So now that's +7, and say if you did that point blank, that naturally combos into the quarter circle forward kick up flame, right? And from there, do this, medium kick up flame, +8. When you know it, crouch medium kick, 8 frames, right? Starting to see a little pattern here, and there we go. It's comboing. And there we go. That's a nice little combo, right? Thanks to the changes that the patch allows us to have. Not maybe revolutionary, but lets you get like those fun little, you know, up flame combos outside of the corner. That's something, I guess. Now let's show you something that's, once again, simple but effective. So flame, right? You can hold the button or let it rock, right? And Dhalsim being one of, you know, the premier zoners, right? So charge flame just happens earlier now. So it used to be 45 frames if you held it. Now it's 43. And also the recovery is 4 frames earlier than it was. So you can chuck out the big 2-hitting flames faster and recover a little bit quicker. So lets him zone better. Sure, works out. He also has some buffs against airborne enemies in that Yoga Mummy now just causes a flat knockdown. No air flip out, no nothing. So you can do this and then go into like, you know, whatever special cancel you can do in the air. So I can mummy you out, teleport, and then do like a sick meaty drill or something. I don't know. Dhalsim players, you let me know. You'll figure this out much better than me, right? But the fact that air-to-air mummy, that was like a proper knockdown. They don't air flip or whatever. I think that seems all right. Not huge, but all right. The other one is EX air up flame. So this used to cause like advanced combo scaling. It no longer does. So if you snipe people out of the air and then go for like a super or something, you're going to deal 100% damage of that super. That's pretty okay. Also, speaking of pretty okay, his level 3, if you go for his level 3 off Yoga Flames, it specifically cancels quicker than it did before, allowing you just to nab it in some situations you couldn't. So overall, like, net buffs, yes, not huge. I definitely feel they're scared of Dhalsim, though. Everyone, if you got a heart beating in your chest, you fear this man. Because Dhalsim is messed up. Like, once again, I very much believe somewhere in the future he will be running this game like he usually does. Just we're putting it off for now. So I think he'll remain a solid mid-tier and probably climb up the ranks slowly. And I'm sure I missed something important with these. I'm not a Dhalsim player myself, but the changes seem interesting enough. Okay, we're making this one quick for Ed. Ed is the newest character, not counting Huma, but he was made with Season 2 in mind, right? And therefore, they're happy enough with what he's got. So things like Crouch, Medium Punch, subject to the mostly universal, like, you know, Hurt Box, Whiff Punish nerf. If you got a low that goes into a Drive Rush, that button's probably, you know, easier to Whiff Punish. Sure, and the other one is Crouch, Light Punch. So Crouch, Light Punch, as it stood, and yes, it is rapid cancelable and all that, right? As it stood, it was -5 on block, which is punishable. So even if you rapid cancel out, you know, some characters like a stand light kick, they can still bop you with a, you know, 5-framer, right? So now it is -3. That's it, that's all. So, you know, negative, lost your turn, sure, but negative, not punishable. Other than that, there's bug fixes. You can check the patch notes in the description. And that's about it for Ed. Once again, he's the newest effective character, Akuma fully designed for Season 2, and therefore he's the closest to where they already want him. Dee Jay! Some of the other top tiers, you know, they got buffs and nerfs, right? Some got mostly buffs even. Dee Jay definitely mostly nerfs, though. So let's start here. Just like combo damage is going to go down. Stuff like Stand Heavy Punch. So Stand Heavy Punch, if done in a combo, which, you know, well, a lot of times it will be, it's now going to cause advanced scaling here. Next hit, as you can see here, is at 80%. So it has 20% scaling. Considering you're going to use that a lot in combos, that means your combos are going to do less damage. Crouch Medium Kick, subject to the same, you know, Whiff Punish nerf everyone else is. If you're a low poke, you're really good, it's going to be easier to Whiff Punish you. Now going back to Heavy Punch here for a second here. So once again, it's do less combo damage, but also combos from it are just going to drop. So back Heavy Kick. The way it's specifically worded here, if only the first hit connects, the blowback / launch distance of things will change. So this combo, which hopefully you're looking at right now, will not work anymore. So I can start it much the same here. You know, the constituent parts will work. But then, nah, done. Combo just doesn't exist anymore. So not only can I not get the end of the combo, I can't even get the part that gets me to the end of the combo. And Dee Jay, I don't know, maybe they thought combos are too easy, too funky, too fresh. But that's definitely a big nerf. Another nerf here, Jump Knee. So down light kick. This gives them the closest thing this game has to like a King of Fighters short hop. So it's really good, right? The hitbox has been nerfed, so it can't hit people above them. So when you're, you know, spamming your knee, as you do, you should. It's pretty all right, right? If someone's already in the air too, you won't just beat them out of the air for free. You're the one that's going to get bopped. It will remain strong against grounded foes, but it won't just also win air-to-airs for you. As you can see there, right? Just get smoked out of the air. So you probably still win the occasional trade just because the move's really dumb, but it won't just be anti-air on top of like turbo ground pressure. More damage scaling nerfs here. EX Air Slasher will also cause enhanced scaling. So if you do in the combo, and once again you should, it's good, that combo will be subject, the next hit will be subject to advanced scaling of 20% instead of 10%. So Dee Jay's just not going to hit as hard as he currently does. Another one, stop me if you heard of this one here. The Funky Slicer, the back sway into the kick. The doom and bane of many, right? This is going to be another one here on punish counter, will cause advanced scaling. So the next hit will scale at 20% instead of 10%. So once again, a lot of the key core Dee Jay tools, like a lot of them still work. Well, you know, except for some of the combo ones like I've shown you. But when you do them, the follow-ups will be getting less damage. Now, it's not all the end of the world. Light Punch, Medium Kick is now +3 on hit instead of +2. There we go. You're sold now, right? All these other nerfs. You see the vision now, right? Ah, all the nerfs make sense. +3, finally. And also, you can very slightly delay the last hit now. And I mean very, like, almost impossibly delay. There you go. So, That's something, I guess. The big one is the level 1 super. So the level 1 super, they basically, at the ranges you should use it at, they made it safe on block. It's now -12 instead of -24, and has even more pushback than it did. And the idea of this is if it hit the opponent on counter hit or punish counter, like, you could get some stuff going on, right? And the hitbox is pretty good. It's basically like, you know, a good whiff punish button. On counter hit, they fall away. You got drive rush. And on punish counter, they just crumple, like right in front of you. Don't even got to chase them down, right? So you get combos, you get damage off of this. The only issue is, like, you know, this works as a punish counter, sure, but like, why not just do my other good punish counter buttons? Only thing is, you know, like, why spend that meter, right? Like, let me use my super on something else while I do other offense, right? So, stand heavy kick's a perfectly good whip punish button. That's the thing, even with all these nerfs, like, Dee Jay's still probably better off than most of the cast, right? Because huge buttons, huge potential. Like, yeah, less damage, sure, but like, he's got the tools. But it does suck to be mostly nerfs, and like, they really want you to use this. I don't know, maybe someone will figure out like some really sick tech. But as it stands, on my initial impression on this initial face, he's just doing less damage across the board. Certain combo routes just won't work anymore, and that's not a good feel. Aki. Let's go into the happy section. The DJ section, that was a bummer. Let's lift our spirits. Aki is basically nothing but buffs, and some of them, sure, like, take them. Don't question it, because some of them don't make sense, but they're good, right? So let's start with some of the basic ones. Stand heavy punch. You know, good button, right? Good old poke. It is now -4 on block. Used to be -5, so sure, we'll take it, right? We'll take it. It is also very slightly easier to hit confirm into it. I'm not going to say it's easy. The window is not huge, but it is also slightly bigger than it was before. So if you got your random block on, and you think you're good enough to hit confirm it, like, by all means, because, you know, it'd be a pretty handy skill to have. It is not necessarily easy. See, I almost botched it right there. And I didn't get it that time, right? So it's not the easiest, but it is easier, I guess. Now, here's another one. Stand light kick is now 4 frames. So you're paying for this in a few ways. For one, it is now more negative on block. -3 used to be -2. But it allows for a lot more fun stuff, so I think that's well worth it. Not the least of which, it combos from crouch light punch. So say they're already poisoned, right? Now you can get the medium lash blossom effect, right? You know, the detonation effect, right? You can't do that. Off these guys, doesn't combo, doesn't have enough hit stun, right? You can there. Also, off like basic B&Bs, maybe not so much like setup pressure, but if you're just looking to cash out on raw damage, it now gives you some more options. Like comboing into the projectile and then doing the self-detonate on it, right? So 2,500 damage, not bad, meterless, right? Not spending any extra meter. Once again, 9 times out of 10 is better to, like, you know, go for the knockdown, go for the setup, go for the pressure. But if you just need damage now, then it's not a bad way to go about it, especially if you don't already have poison and the detonation set up. Stand medium kick, which is one of your better pokes, is now 8 frames startup. A little bit less pushback when it connects, but still, you know, not bad for one of your more dominant pokes to be more, you know, speedy, quicker frames. Now here's where we get silly. Crouch medium kick is now +5 on hit. This is a 7 frame low with a appreciable range. Now it's not one of those like lows, you know, you do the old drive rush into, right? We got enough of those, but that's okay. But if it's +5 on hit now, that means on drive rush, it's +9. You know what else is 9 frames? Oh. Stand heavy kick, which is like one of your main buttons, right? So that means all this nonsense now combos. So off like a raw drive rush, hey, there you go. That's all the thing now. That's cool. You know, directly comboing into one of your most important combo buttons could be worse, right? But here's where we get extra stupid. So it used to be -3 on block. It is now +1. A 7 frame low is +1 on block. And it's not like it's hurting for range once again here, right? So Her poking game is going to get stronger, you know, as we show and stand heavy punch, as we're going to show on the lash stuff here. So just having this silly thing being plus, I don't know, man. Like, take it, don't fight it, don't argue it. Right? It might take it back from you, but plus on block, why not? Doubly so, because if it's point blank, you are still very much in crouch light punch distance. So you can try to scam him out with a counter hit combo. Because guess what? That's still very much a counter hit combo, right? So, I don't know. Play around with it. Now here's a fun one. Crouch heavy kick, which is like one of your alternate anti-air. She doesn't have like a great anti-air. Like heavy punch lash is probably the closest. But this is an alternate anti-air. Has one more active frame, so 6 instead of 5. Also recovers a single frame quicker. And the hurt box on the feet, which is, you know, the part you're attacking with, is reduced. So if you're looking for that anti-air, it'll just be slightly better at it. It's not going to be best in class. It's not one of those, but it'll be better. Also, heavy lash while we're at it, because that is the other kind of more dedicated anti-air. The part where hurt box shrinks to the ground happens 2 frames earlier. So it used to happen on 6th frame, now happens on the 4th frame, which basically just means it is just all the harder you get the stuffer out of it. While it's not necessarily like invincible like a Shoryuken or nothing, like it's pretty serviceable against your standard jump-ins. Alright, now let's get to some of the interesting stuff here. So Light Lash, you've probably seen this one, but one thing that wasn't necessarily thrown out there is they expanded the range of the move just a little bit. Like just from a little bit closer than round start, it'll connect from. So that's nice. It gives more value as just like a raw poke, right? And the thing about this now is, as a punish counter, it now causes a crumple state. Now, here's the thing though. The punish counter, the crumple is great. The regular version though, you're not going to get much off of it unless you're close. But if you're poisoned, or they're poisoned rather, then all of a sudden, it gets a much longer crumple and you can do a lot more interesting things with it. Just basic examples, right? Time will remain and tell how it's going to go, but just the fact the move has much longer range than it did before. Once again, just a little bit past round start that helps her neutral, and if they're already poisoned, you can definitely get some sort of drive rush follow-up, and if not, you know, just tossing it out as, you know, a punch counter when you know you got it, when you're out of range other stuff, why not? Other fun things, so the fireball, the poison ball, you've always been able to slide cancel EX slide, right, and just go from there. You can now cancel that much later. So say you see a fireball clash, or say you see them starting up something, right? You can now do this until the move is just over. Unless the move is actually completely done, you can always slide cancel out of it. So just gives you more time to assess the situation, go from there. Other little things, stabby stabs, quarter circle back kick series. You don't got to be in a combo with a ground bounce or anything like that. If you connect the move, it can always go into the level 3 no matter what. Be it the light kick version, be it the heavy kick version, you can just always do it. Also, specifically the heavy version, now just slightly, and I mean slightly more pushback on block. Basically enough to just be out of throw range, so you don't got to worry about that. And of course, there's quality of life stuff here, like coward crouch kicks, kind of a staple for the character. The first hit, the hitbox is slightly expanded forward, just making it easier to connect. And the second hit, if the first hit connects, otherwise, you know, you're in a combo, will have a new hitbox specifically for combos just to make sure the second hit doesn't whiff. That's nice. Other things are nice, like Snake Step. The light version now just moves you slightly backwards. I can't really pretend to know the significance of this one, but it's different. And speaking of different always equals cool, the level 2 super now does ever so slightly more damage. It does about 200 more damage than it did before. Considering, you know, the main purpose of the super is like as a gotcha from full screen and applying the poison, hey, not bad. Now here's the big one, Stance Punch. The big leaping poison stab, right? Is now invincible the second the active frames begin. So you can see here, I can just start up and go right through that projectile. Now, to stress, it's not invincible technically frame 1. It's when the actual attack begins, because until the attack begins, you're on the ground. And fireballs will just go for your head anyways. Say versus Juri's projectile. It's not going to save you, because once again, it's not frame 1. It's when the actual attack starts. For the beginning of the attack, it's low enough to the ground that other fireballs would whiff anyways. but it's not until you're actually beginning the attack part of the attack are you actually invulnerable to any projectiles, FYI. But this is a big buff regardless, because it lets you fish. When you go into stance, you can hold up and just cancel it. So from full screen, you can just kind of do this, right? Maybe you're up against a character like Ryu, you're not necessarily prone to win a fireball war against. So just do this, see what he does. If he does nothing, he does nothing, right? But if you catch him while you're doing this, oh, he did the fireball? Gotcha. And if they're already poisoned, that's a full guaranteed combo as well, right? So just lets you play a little bit lame, you know, just like, what are we doing next here? You know, are you throwing that fireball? Am I just going to be doing this here? And like, oh, did I catch you? Done, right? It travels fast enough, far enough that the majority of fireballs, you can even be a little sloppy, you'll still catch them. So on top of her outfit 3, which is the biggest buff of all, right? Aki, it's just all straight better for her, right? It's all big buffs. Everything about her character, like what she wants to do, you know, play neutral, apply poison, all that kind of stuff. It's all just better. And then you get silly things like a plus on block 7 frame low. So lots to love for Aki. Rashid, mostly in a good spot. Very little in the way it changes. And frankly, that's a buff for him. He'll move up in the tier list by being the same. Because he's pretty good, y'all. I think a lot of people sleep on this character. So on the buff side, like, it's very small. His various run moves can now go into supers. You know, it's not nothing, but it's there, I guess. You know, level 3. You ever seen that one? No one ever sees level 3 because this is the one you see. We'll talk about that in a second, right? But yeah, so run, punch, run, kick can go into supers now. That's cool. If you happen to have a cyclone up, specifically, the light eagle kick can also now go into level 3. Only if it hits on landing. But if you get it, it'll work. So that's another option, right? It'll get you potentially more damage if you get the hit. Here's one I didn't even know existed. So when you have, you know, the cyclone up, if you go for spinner, you know, enhanced spinner, apparently it had air and vulnerability frames. It now loses some of those anyways. I didn't even know it had them from the spinner version. But yeah, that's technically a nerf, I guess. I didn't even know it existed, but it's a nerf. The big one is the level 2. Level 2 is not losing any uniqueness, not losing any power, but while it's out there, you cannot gain super meter. You can only gain super meter after it dissipates. They figured it was too much for a move that's pretty okay as it is, right? Defining feature of the character. They could also just keep gaining lots of meter to, you know, build into the next level 2 and, like, God forbid you do like 2 in 1 round or something like that, right? So you cannot build meter while level 2 is on the screen. And that's about it. And some bug fixes as well, right? That's about it. So Rashid remains a good character. So Guile, some buffs, some nerfs. Some of the buffs, I never would have thought this is a direction they would go. But hey, let's get into it, right? So some things, sure. Things like stand heavy punch. If you're doing it in a combo, your combo will scale more, right? It'll be 20% scaling instead of the usual 10%. Sure. Much the same EX boom. If you use it in a combo for whatever reason, the following hit will be subjected to advanced scaling. 20%, just like before, right? So, okay. A little bit less damage on some moves, sure. And like many other characters, crouch medium punch. This is the button, so if you whiff this move, not only will you get a bigger hurt box on whiff, it'll actually have more recovery frames than normal. So on normal, it has 13 frames recovery. On whiff specifically, 16. So not only bigger hurt box to whiff punish, bigger just whiff to begin with. Okay, sure. And it's hard to tell because it's like a hitbox, hurtbox thing. But they say the hands on a sonic boom, the hurtbox is like kind of expanded a little bit here. So it might be easier just to like get a jump in on, but time will tell. Now let's talk some of the buffs here. So the first one is probably the biggest buff of the whole patch. Jump medium kick does 100 more. I don't think I've ever seen someone use jump medium kick, to be honest with you. You know, jump heavy punch, yeah, sure. Jump medium kick, I don't know. 100 more damage. Everyone's going to switch over to it. But here's the fun one. We're going to turn on block right here. They're changing the amount of drive gauge damage booms do on block. Light, same as it's ever been, right? You don't really assume booms are like, you know, chip out material for drive gauge, right? Heavy boom, a little bit more, but medium booms now do like almost half a drive gauge bar. Like, that's not nothing, and specifically in the medium, not the light, not the heavy. in order of damage, it's light, then heavy, then medium. And this also applies to the Sonic Cross. Like, you set up Sonic Blade, do the Sonic Cross. Light, then heavy, and then medium are the terms of damage. So medium will deal the most drive gauge damage. You can see there, that's over half a bar, right? So you really got to perfect parry. Like, the chip is going to start adding up if you don't perfect parry these. I think that's kind of a cool way to go about it. Another cool thing is they reduce the cost of a move. So normally, if you went for EX Sonic Blade and then went for EX Sonic Boom, that would be 4 bars. 2 for each EX, right? Now, that's 2 and 1. So you only spend 3 bars instead of 4, which is great because EX Sonic Blade, they made it basically juggle higher and also not juggle as far away. So then something like this now combos mid-screen. Before that was corner only. Now that's mid-screen and it's cheaper. And yes, it does wall splat. So say you're a cheeky boy, you know, you're not exactly at the corner and you're only getting lights, you know, usually Guile's like, you know, light, flash kick, something like that, right? Now you can get a little sassy with it. Not tons and tons of damage, sure, but you know, more than just like light flash kick, right? So if you're nearing the corner, you got 3 bars, want to cash out for 27%, now it's an option for you. So once again, not huge changes for Guile. Does not need huge changes. Guile's in a good place. So he's doing good, and you know, chip Guile with medium boom and medium Sonic Cross is gonna be a thing, I guess. And watch out for that jump medium kick. It's probably gonna kill the game. And our last character, JP, I'm reading this as mostly nerfs, right? I feel like they felt like JP ran the game for too much and they don't want that happening again. So nerfs, some of these, like, the wording is you'd read that as a buff normally, like heavy kick, more pushback on block. Oh, okay, poke on pushback on block, sure. But not when it's plus on block. You don't want more pushback when your move's plus on block, right? Crouch, medium punch, crouch, medium kick, crouch, heavy kick. All subject to the enhanced hurt box with punish nerf. Some of these more than others, but basically all 3 of them, with this move, you're probably going to get bopped on the other end of it. Back, medium punch, medium punch. The target combo is now subject to more scaling than before. It's at 20% scaling than compared to like the usual 10% scaling. The pillar, like one of the core things of JP, right? If you use this in the combo, it's going to cause additional scaling. You go for like one of the classic setups here, and then you know, stuff's gonna start scaling real bad. So you'll still do your damage, still get the options, but like you're just not gonna do as much damage if you're using pillars and combos. Now, actually, on the level 3 kick here, there's a discrepancy now between the critical art and the regular level 3. So the critical art is, well, same as it's ever been, right? Your full screen, your 44 frames of advantage, go from there. The regular level 3, though, things are changing up now. So it's not as much advantage. Like, the advantage frame is basically cut in half. It's like 23. Oh, I'll find out in a second here. 23 frames of advantage, right? But now, you're kind of closer, right? Like, you're close enough to the point where, like, say you do, like, drive rush, stand heavy. They got a groove on it. Like, they can't do too much about it. Like, basically, the frame they wake up is the frame you can tap them. And, like, who knows what other pressure we can set up, right? So I actually originally read this as a nerf. Oh, like, less hit advantage. Oh, it's got to be bad, right? But the fact that you're in drive rush distance, you can tap them right out of the gate. We'll see. Like, once again, this is kind of mostly nerfs, right? So we'll see how that works. We do got some buffs. Some are interesting here. They almost read more like bug fixes, like stand medium kick. The hurt box has been reduced until the active frames. So it sounds like there was some issues with him getting stuffed, like way before the move could even begin. Interesting. EX cortical forward double punch here. So this is like the big wall bounce, right? So one of the things about this is the first hit is now super cancelable, which is interesting. It is now also much faster startup. So originally it used to be 22 frame startup, now with 19 frame startup. So I'm very certain there's going to be situations where you can get this to combo that it could never combo before. So maybe some nerfs, but new combo routes, new combo opportunities. As 3 frames faster overall, the scaling of the move has been changed. So the lion's share of the damage is now attributed to the first hit. So say you want to do the first hit into level 2, more damage, and also juggle them so you can actually like kind of bounce them away in an interesting way that wasn't an option before, right? Optimal combos. I'm not the guy for JP optimal combos, so you figure them out. But just more combo potential, more silly things that can be done. And speaking of silly, EX Ghost. So EX Ghost, the first hit can now be super canceled as well. And this works out extra great for the level 2 in particular, as the level 2, you can go for the Ghost, call level 2, and he's still there for the second hit. Like, he's still going to do the second hit, so it's like extra, you got to groove on it, and then, of course, you know, groove on whatever attacks I'm going to do next as well, right? So if you happen to be like, EX Ghost, you immediately go into level 2, and they just kind of got to keep grooving on what's going on next. Interesting, I guess. But here's what's actually interesting. This is what appeals to my brain. The grab. Y'all remember the grab, right? So the grab, you need a lot of advantage frames, but you can combo into it. Like straight up, 2 hits. Not bad. It scales really heavily, as you can see. Like, look at that hit. Hit 1, 100%. Hit 2, 55%. That's a lot. But it's interesting. It's something that doesn't exist currently, right? So, remains to be seen. As it's written, change it so it can hit an opponent in a knockback state. Which, you know, getting hit by a move is a knockback state, right? So, there's that. Also, they changed the hitbox on it. So, some characters can, like, just see it and then, like, kind of drive rush through it. And, hopefully, as it's written, can't do that so much anymore. So comboing into the grab, that's something I like doing. So we'll see. JP nerfs, right? But things like the enhanced cortical forward punch, it being faster, it leading to more combo routes. We'll see how it goes. And that's the patch notes. Once again, if you want to check the full comprehensive list, the link is in the video description. Also, probably a longer video. I haven't figured it out just yet. I still got to edit it, but probably a long vid. So if you could leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. All in all, big fan of this patch. It's mostly buffs. That's what I want to see. Some smart nerfs, some odd nerfs, but mostly buffs, right? Pretty much everyone feels like they're coming out like a winner out of this, right? And that's what you want. You don't feel like certain characters are just gone. And admittedly, some characters like poor old Dee Jay, he ain't feeling so good on this one, I don't feel, right? But even other characters like Luke, top tier Luke, I don't feel like Luke's going anywhere. And other characters, you know, either just buffs to raw power, like say Zangief, smart buffs to how you want to use them, like Manon, like Ryu just got the world, right? Like, a lot of the buffs just make sense. A lot of the cast should be more fun to play. The good characters will remain good. The characters that were less as good should be climbing their way up the ranks just a little bit, I think. We'll see. Time will tell. That all said, though, that is the video. So, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.